Okay, people wanted me to watch this yesterday. He involved himself in the last debate, but not in like the last year of whatever project like this quiet server was on the go with. Yeah, this is Missy. She was I don't even know. So half these people lie about their fucking gender and shit. But this person used to be in our server, and they were also in the secret server, talking about how they wanted to come into my server to argue about Israel so they could feel something, because they woke up feeling meh. I'm like, oh god, oh no, mental health, oh no. Anyway, I only got like 20 seconds through this. I still don't even know what the fuck it's about, but okay.
You live in a world where Paramount has merged and owns the Free Press. Barry Weiss has been installed as the editor of the Free Press. The Ellisons own TikTok. And also...
Is Barry Weiss installed as the Free Press? I thought Barry Weiss was involved in starting the Free Press, wasn't he? Am I wrong there? Yeah, Barry Weiss found it. Or maybe he was installed to Paramount as the editor of the Free Press. Yeah, I thought Barry Weiss founded the Free Press, yeah. Because she used to be New York Times. Installed at CBS. Yeah, gotcha. But she started the Free Press, and her thing was like, her claim was that she was basically kind of fed up with the ideological orthodoxy of the, the lib woke media, whatever the fuck, which obviously overlaps a lot with the drift away from like the polarizing of opinions on Israel, right?
Social media seems to be disproportionately moderating, boosting.
Wait, let's just go.
The Ellisons own TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
And all social media seems to be disproportionately moderating, boosting, content of a certain persuasion. That appears to be what's happening online over the last couple of years.
Disproportionately pushing content, disproportionately in comparison to what? Hang on. Americans have increasingly negative views on Israel. We know that. On the whole, as of April, it went from this to this very quickly, somewhat unfavorable. Very or somewhat unfavorable went from 42% to 60%, and favorable went from 55 to 37. Okay. So it's still, if you're rounding up, it's still like just about a 60-40, a bit less than 40 situation in America. Republicans, I'm pretty sure, are still more favorable to Israel, aren't they, on the whole? Probably not by much, though. More Republicans and Republican leaners have a favorable than unfavorable view of Israel, 58 to 41. Okay. So I guess disproportionate would have to be that you're showing the media not really reflecting. I don't know if you want to say whether it's reflecting this or this, because it's Republicans who are in power right now, and Trump is a deranged, opportunistic, fascist fuck who is using his presidency to push his friends into advantageous positions that also advantage him, like media. Especially since a few older allies are less reliable now, like Tucker.
And then you see these content creators that are aligned with a certain side, that are willing to use every tactic possible to crush the opposition. That appears to be what's happening online over the last couple of years. And then you see these content creators that are aligned with a certain side, that are willing to use every tactic possible to crush the opposition. And they are benefiting massively from this industrial force, this international industrial force behind them. To try and, I don't want to say it, but it is kind of Israel. It's online Israel. They are perfectly aligned on that cause, and they benefit massily from the industrial machine.
Who the fuck are we talking about that they align perfectly and they're on that cause? Because Barry Weiss, Barry Weiss, the Ellisons, Mary Madison, like these are people who are all like lean to one degree or another in favor of Trump. I think all of them have friendly relations with Netanyahu and the Israeli right. But who are we connecting them to?
That keeps that running. You can't stoop to their level, but you can't. You have to be firm. You can't stoop to their level, but you have to hold a firm line. You cannot allow people to, do this divide and conquer bullshit and try and police associations based on some shit that happened years ago that someone doesn't even do anymore, that you've got no evidence of doing. And it's built into a total lie narrative that is made to vindicate someone on their sex crimes and crush the opposition to their political perspective.
So he's linking that to Destiny and... Is there context to this? Is this like, because at first I thought maybe out of context because it's Missy is the person posting it, but Missy's like a viewer, like a fan of Kuihman's, like, so they, like, this person wouldn't maliciously clip him. What is what's the through line here between Barry Weiss and all these like the Ellisons and all these Trump sycophant retards who like Netanyahu? Where's the connection between them and Dan, Destiny, and Ethan and Hutch or me or anyone? Like, what's that? Where's that connection? I'm not really... What does that have to do with any of the drama that's going? If we're talking about... That sounded like they were talking about the doxing thing there. Or like the loose connections. What? Is there a stream that where he talks about this? Or you get a mention as well. Do I? Is it a fucking segment? Let's see. I'm taking an interest. Is it... He's wearing the same thing in this segment. They're ruining the internet. Is that what this is? Where the... Oh, hey! Where'd it go? It just changed size. Everything's... Oh, they're ruining the internet. Okay, is this it?
So, you may be aware, Shamu has been outed for the terrible crime.
Wait, this isn't what this is about, is it? I thought it's worth commenting on Trump abusing his position in power to elevate people who support him and incidentally have the same views as him on Israel, especially like the Ellisons and Barry Weiss and all that shit. Like, that is worth calling out because he's obviously, like, he's abusing his position to fuck with the media into his favor and incidentally into Netanyahu's favor as well. But what the fuck does it have to do with and Israel? Okay, that comes in 10 minutes in. Okay, let's see.
Doxxing in sector troll groups 4 years ago, okay? And apparently that means everyone has to disown Shamu. Seems to be the prescription here. Now, I don't have any hard lines for association. I've literally never enforced hard lines for association. I say that if you have hard lines, you should stick to them.
Yeah. So
I will not be totally disowning Shamu. That will not be happening. And I want to use this as sort of an opportunity to, go into a bit more of this because stuff that all of us, and I say this not just talking to my chat right now, speaking broadly, people who enjoy this kind of content, people who make this kind of content, that the principles and standards that you probably hold quite dearly are under attack in a way they really haven't been since Keffals, frankly. And it's pretty disgusting. It's pretty disgusting. I'm a very abrasive person. Okay, I understand not liking me. I understand.
Is this to do with like free speech and deplatforming and everything? Okay, I will say one thing. Okay, to Kuihman's credit, he did ban kosher Kathy from his community because that guy, it's a guy, was trying to get people to report me every time I told someone to video game themselves in a joke. Right? And I'm like, there's no fucking way that Kuihman endorses that kind of behavior, right? I was a bit curious about why that person was allowed to exist in that community for so long, because that person like is a serial fucking lying, bad faith, disgusting piece of shit. But maybe he didn't know. We'll see. But to my knowledge, that person has been banned for doing that specific thing. Okay.
For me, in fact.
Did he do it after you brought it up? Yes. The one thing I might be... This can go both ways. I'll just tell you what my thought process was at the time. When I told him about it, I don't think he... Did I say I would... I don't think I showed him evidence. So maybe he checked himself and just saw, or...
I totally get that. Okay. What I did hope, is that there were some people that were discerning enough. And there are, in fairness. I'll give one credit, one shout out. Specific shout out. Styro No One. This guy hates me. This guy hates me. He's an RFC guy. But
Kathy's already been getting re-added to communities, so I'd fact check if he's still banned. Well, if you want to show me, you can show me.
See him standing on what he obviously should believe. What I would assume he believes. Total random just a random shout. Just to cite one person that I saw being quite discerning about this stuff. But yeah, you don't see it from a lot of content creators, to be honest. You really don't. So I don't know how I want to really go about explaining this. Because it's something I want to try and convey. But it's tricky. It's tricky, man. Okay. There are some base level principles in this kind of content creation. In this sort of, I don't want to say sector, because that is a specific thing. But this area of the internet. The idea that when you participate online as part of a community, you are responsible for your actions. You are not responsible for the actions of everyone around you. Or if you post on a subreddit, you're not responsible for every discrete instance of harassment, especially illegal harassment that happens as a result of the general air of negativity towards a person. Great example of this. Some of you may remember back in the Keffals drama, Stardust had a big fight with Keffals that resulted in Keffals screaming obscenities at Stardust because Stardust stood by Flamenco. For those who don't know, Flamenco obviously was around with doxes. He threatened to send letters to Xanderhall's mother, and he would post on Kiwi farms very frequently. Very big KF poster. And Stardust defended him firmly. And honestly, that's one of the few times where I've thought Stardust won a debate. I thought Stardust did well there. That was one of the few times ever where she stood firmly on the idea that Flamenco isn't responsible for your swatting. It's not just group harassment because he's on the forum. But that's totally been abandoned. That has totally been abandoned by these people. And that is a core principle that allows not just KF to operate and people there to be able to talk their shit, but allows DGG to operate. It allows Leftovers H3 to operate. It allows H3 Productions to operate because there are always negative, illegal, harassing behaviors that occur as a result of significant negative attention online, but not each individual engaging with the negativity is responsible for each discrete act of harassment. You are responsible for harassment that you do, which hopefully you don't do. So I really do feel like
probably a caveat that you're also responsible for a kind of culture that you cultivate within a community, I guess. But I don't think you would disagree with that. Like, negligence is a form of responsibility.
Like, with a lot of the lawsuit and doxing stuff that's going on here, I would hope there are a lot more people that are willing to sort of put differences aside. You know, this isn't really a matter of whether someone says slurs or whether someone's right wing or whether someone's a communist, whether someone's a tanky in ML. The principles that allow this type of content to continue should matter to all of us. They should matter to all of us. And a key point to this is that when you're going against that, you don't win by betraying what you're fighting for. You know, you do not win by adopting the tactics of the enemy. You know, you see people say this sort of stuff a lot of the time. People wanting to take things further. They see someone do something absolutely insane, horrible, and they want to take things further. They want to retaliate, but you literally can't. You literally can't. You have to maintain the high ground every time. You cannot allow yourself to just become whatever.
Yes, Embo, I know you're saying that the Israel support that I linked in from the Pew poll, even amongst Republicans, is over concentrated amongst older people. I understand that, but who's watching mainstream media on average? Who's voting on average? It's still older people, like by much more disproportionately than it is younger people.
It is you've got a problem with.
Which is obviously what's going to influence. Like, if you want to run a media operation in any country, even if you're a Russian propagandist, you can't just plot thoughts into people's heads, like, and mind control them. Like, you have to be working with something that's already there. You have to have some demand, like you have to. And one of the things with the free press and everything that definitely Barry Weiss spoke about, it wasn't just like, oh yeah, we want to like come in and be sycophants for Trump and manipulate our way and abuse our way into these high positions of American media. That's the very, very negative and condemnable side of what they're doing. But the other side of what they're doing as well is noticing that since October 7th, there's been a polarizing of opinion when it came to Israel and October 7th. And a lot of the mainstream media were accused not only by right-wingers, but also of like liberal and center people of being biased in one direction, or just like the environment, like the situation in Gaza, like leading to a biased result in some of the media. Like, but the fact is that America still dangling on has a bunch of people who are old and traditionally cling on to the Israel narrative, and they're going to want some media that's not CNN still talking about fucking 500 trucks, or like we're just going to assume like everyone in the strike was a civilian, even though like a year later Islamic Jihad will admit that it was a bunch of their commanders and all that shit, or like the New York Times and Ezra Klein pontificating over the one state reality, which is like so divorced from fucking reality. It's amazing that it gives himself that title. But that's like really what happened. That's why you have this situation now where people who are pro-Israel and people who are pro-Palestine both feel like they are in ecosystems that are completely against them for whatever reason. Like they both feel like the media is not on their side because there's a polarizing that's gone on. Because people who are more pro-Israel don't feel like their perspective is being spoken to by the likes of New York Times and CNN and all those people anymore. And obviously people on the other side who spent like one half of the the people who were treating fucking TikTok as a reliable source are feeling like they also feel like people like CNN and all that aren't on their side either, so they drift to more extreme polls as well, like in the alt media. And then it's also become this kind of like lightning rod for people to split off. Like Tucker Carlson's big riff with MAGA is specifically over Israel. Candace Owens, same story. Marjorie Taylor Greene, same story. So to say like that thing he was saying earlier about a disproportionate presence in the media over the last couple of years, dude, you sound like Israelis who will tell the exact same story, but instead of pointing to Barry Weiss and the switch over on TikTok and everything else, they'll do the same thing, but they'll talk about what's happened to the New York Times in the last couple of years, or what, like just recently publishing a fucking story, taking very seriously some very unserious and very unsubstantiated claims that dogs are raping Palestinian prisoners because they're trained to rape by the IDF, or how every mainstream outlet basically believed after the Al-Ali blast that Israel had fucking J-dammed a hospital and flattened it, killing 500 people. Jeremy Bowen, like Middle East guy for the BBC for decades, believed that and said he regretted nothing after admitting he was wrong, even though it didn't map onto anything that's ever happened in Israel and Gaza for the last like 5 wars that they had, a strike like that. But, you know, or the way that Israelis will complain about fucking Qatar and how much, or like the Gulf countries and how much they fund Middle East studies education programs in American universities, which they do, by the way. And that's kind of why like people go in, like these students go into Columbia and then 4 years later they come out in fucking keffiyehs raiding a building and then complaining that they're not getting given the fucking food deliveries from the university and calling humanitarian aid. Like that's so. But what the media is reflecting there, both parts of it, the Barry Weiss thing and TikTok and Paramount and CBS, and also what's going on with the complaints about like the kind of increasing drift on things like the New York Times or CNN and like the way that liberal media has been moving, and also even the way that the alt media has definitely all coalesced around the anti-Israel thing. That's all reflecting something, which is that opinions since October 7th have polarized on the issue. That's like the before anything else, before reflecting Trump's corruption or before it's reflecting a polarization.
Can't start filing lawsuits because, oh, well, fuck them. Fuck them. You can't start doxing because, oh, well, fuck them. They did it. You can't start lying because, oh, well, fuck them. They do it. Dan's doing it all the time.
I believe that. because I am a Taylor Lorenz head. Okay, I'm a Taylor. I'm a Tayloroid, and some motherfuckers. The justification for Taylor doxing Libs of TikTok, by the way, is not because she's a journalist or whatever the fuck she would say. No, it's because like the person has crossed a threshold, a very clear one. People can argue about where that threshold is, but to me, that's just an easier position to hold. I don't know why there's so much other like shit that you can do to fuck with people's private lives online, but for some reason, doxing is like the arbitrary red line. That to me, that doesn't make much sense.
You can't just start doing that, but you do need to hold firm. And you do need to be aggressive. Okay, you do need to hold firm.
I'm feeling aggressive.
You do need to be aggressive, and you need to stand confidently. You can't this bitchy, almost. I don't want to call it infighting because there isn't this broad group. But the idea, for instance, here I'll give you an example. I will frequently see. I'll use myself as an example. I will frequently see, say something gets posted of me, there will be a comment from someone who will agree with me on the core issue being discussed. And it's a very important issue, and it should be an important issue to them. But you may see a comment say, oh, well, why are you supporting this guy? He says the N-word on Kick. I don't at this point anyway. I don't do that. But you know what I mean. They'll say something like that. And that's got
like the only slur he doesn't say.
Stop, I think. I'm not saying that about me, that you've got to stop saying things about me. I'm saying, broadly, if you care about this stuff, you need to forget some of these internal differences. An example of someone else, Bungie, recognizing some of the existential issues that are being presented to this space right now. He's taking stands on the right side of that. I don't care if he supports Restore. I don't care if he thinks, you know, black people are disproportionately low IQ, or whatever the fuck Bungie thinks. I actually don't know what Bungie thinks. Whatever he thinks. I don't care in the context of this, right? There may be another time where he's expressing that, where it's worth me fighting with that. But when there is a concerted effort to fracture and smother an effective ecosystem, that's a problem. That's a real big problem, and that should be really kind of, you know, firmly opposed by everyone in a firm line. Yeah, it should be firmly opposed.
If you guys want a summary of what he's saying, he's basically saying the internet is like, the internet's a bit of a shithole. It's full of fucking nutters. But also the thing we celebrate with the internet is that it allows people, the little man, to have a voice that they otherwise might not have. And people can speak their mind and they can argue and they can fight and all that. And sometimes it gets really bloody and dirty. And some people can't take the heat, so they have to get out of the kitchen in certain situations. But it's also got your safe spaces. It's got your unsafe space. The internet's a great place for people to fucking fight and speak shit and make communities and all that stuff. And it's becoming threatened by litigious and hyper-aggressive, sensitive bastards like Ethan Klein and Destiny, who are just out there to dox and intimidate people who are fucking with them, or to use the legal system to crush criticism, and trying to use like mass reporting and all that other shit to basically kill this ecosystem. That's the sort of fucking call to arms that he's making. So when he's talking about people who restore and fucking, they think black people are genetically inferior and all that. Yeah, he's saying that, yeah, because although we all fucking disagree with each other, we're all the way from fascists to communists to tankies, the internet's a fucking home of free speech and it should be treasured as such. And when there are threats to that, then it's something that we should all be united against, right? Like, that's the gist of what he's saying, okay?
And you have to consider as well, sort of the context this is happening in, right? And why it's being portrayed the way it is. Destiny has spun up this narrative that this server has existed for 2 years. Why is he saying it's existed for 2 years when it's actually existed for 10 months? Well, just think about that time scale. What would that encompass? It would encompass his allegations, everything leading up to them, and everything he did in response, right? So it is a retroactive justification and attempted vindication narrative to make it seem as though the only reason anyone ever even cared about the fact he was sharing nudes without consent.
Why ever he said the 2-year thing, if it was an accident or if it was an intentional, god damn it, it really had an effect, didn't it? Because now, I guess the result is that people don't, but it's just, to me, it's to be feeding into the whole thing about like not letting people know what you know to see how they behave.
is because other people were spinning it up in the background. But we know that's untrue, don't we, guys? We know that's untrue because not only does the timeline make no sense.
Do you agree with what he just said? Liquid Sonic, if we were going down, so in principle, I'm not sure. It's like, in principle, there's a point where I agree with the free speech idea. I think the internet should be a place where people can generally say what they want, so long as they're not like, I'm maybe a bit less free speech than Kuihman would be, in the sense that I think if there are levels of like harassment and maybe even like across like bigoted lines and things like that can actually serve to make a space like too free, in the sense that it becomes like unlivable for a large amount of people. So for example, let's say there's a forum where anyone can be homophobic, right? So you're free to be as homophobic as you want and do all your homophobic slurs and all that shit. And then and they just say like, oh yeah, we're a free speech platform, we're Wild West and all that. But then it's going to fill up with people who are like taking advantage of that and see that as like a perk, in the sense that they're attracted to the place where you can be as homophobic as you want. So that's where they go to be homophobic. And then, okay, well, how free is that place? Because that place exists for a year. Like, how many gay people are there, right? Like, or how many of them want to be there? So there is a level of like freedom that you can have on the online that pushes people out, which is why there's a lot of case by case stuff. There's like, okay, well, what behavior constitutes harassment here or there? When he's talking about concretely what are the threats to the online ecosystem that's comparable to Keffals, who was trying to shut down a website, Kiwi Farms, and also by trying to basically like destroy every left-winger who wasn't on her side, I guess. Okay, well, Ethan doing a defamation suit because Noah Samson said he supports genocide. That goes against my values when it comes to free speech, even if Noah wins the case, because obviously it's like even bringing a lawsuit against someone will drain them, right? Like it fucks their resources. If you don't have the finances to defend yourself, then you're giga-fucked. I don't think it's a threat to the general ecosystem. I think the problem is that people like Noah were also getting away with behavior that is also actually quite troubling online. Like the amount that these people are able to get away with fucking lying about people and smearing people, and also in a sense like to what point is it like that it's going to hurt their advocacy and their like public speech online? Like there should be some recourse for like the amount of lying that goes on there, but like it just shouldn't be defamation suits. I don't know what it should be though. But as for the specifics, that's probably the one where I would maybe agree with Kuihman, was like using the law to shoot down a YouTube video. Because I don't think it's going to succeed. Unless there's something about the American defamation suits that are just a lot more loose than I used to think they were. I don't know what else he's talking about though. The doxing thing, like again, let's say like let's say you're Dan's situation, right? And you're doxing someone who has spent like hundreds of social media posts and best part of like a year or at least a few months, I can't remember how long it was, but like basically just like ramming into the public sphere with their following that you're a pedophile, like accusing you of being a pedophile. That at what point, like I don't know, like which one is fucking someone else's ability to exist on the platform and speak their mind and everything? Is it the one who's like insisting on calling someone a pedophile the whole time, or someone who says, oh yeah, well your real name is this, that's a really bold accusation, you should attach your name to it? I don't see that as a drastic attack on our freedoms online. My issue is that Noah didn't just say he supported genocide, he also made a call to action for others to make money off of harassing and trying to damage his reputation in business. But again, is that really illegal to say? I don't think that's illegal to say, well, people like drama, so if you want them to care about your topic, you can speak about it through drama. And that seems to be working for Ethan Klein. I don't know what's illegal about like how Noah Samson was, because that's effectively what he was communicating. The call to action, which I think is in that video, it might be in another one though, that's a problem, but that's more to do with incitement than, it's not illegal to sue. Okay. send them a cease and desist, sue them, report them. There's so much more recourse than saying their name on a stream. I would argue that bringing a defamation suit to a fucking Twitter user would cause them more distress and fear and trouble than fucking saying their name. Jesus.
But Destiny himself, in his Bob 7 manifesto, destroyed Bob 7 for doing exactly that, for sharing a nude of Melina with Bose on a screen share in Discord. And in that manifesto, Destiny had admitted to doing the same behavior himself in the past and having issues with Melina over it. So we know it's total bullshit to pretend that this is just a manufactured standard that no one truly cares about, because Destiny himself has cared about it or claimed to care about it in the past, even destroyed someone's online career over it. Deliberately, actively, actually destroyed someone's career over it. I'm not going around getting into private calls with Destiny's friends, recording them, and then chopping it up and trying to spin a narrative on my stream, am I? That's what Destiny did with Bob 7. That's what Destiny did with Bob 7. So it's all projection. It's all a retroactive vindication. That's what it's all about. And then, so that's the sort of drama context here, guys. But drop that into the broader context. The broader context. What's actually happening here? And it depends how schizo you want to go with this, really, doesn't it? You're in a world where I'm going to go full schizo. I'm going to go full schizo.
Okay, so this is to do with the Destiny Ethan Dan thing. That's fucking crazy. Maybe there's something after the clip.
Paramount has merged and owns the Free Press. Barry Weiss has been installed as the editor of the Free Press. The Ellisons own TikTok. And all social media seems to be disproportionately moderating, boosting, content of a certain persuasion. That appears to be what's happening online over the last couple of years. And then you see these content creators that are aligned with a certain side, that are willing to use every tactic possible to crush the opposition, and they are benefiting massively from this industrial force, this international industrial force behind them to try and I don't want to say it, but it is kind of
isn't it? If we're talking about the international industrial force, like what Trump helping these pro-Israel, conservative, anti-woke people get higher positions in American media with the mergers and everything, or Trump doing, isn't that also the same force that blew up Destiny on Fox News and got him demonetized on YouTube? What are we talking about here? I don't even know what to respond, because there's not really a concrete claim being made here, although there kind of is. It's an implied claim, I suppose. I just have no fucking idea what these things have to do with each other.
Israel. It's online Israel. They are perfectly aligned on that cause, and they benefit massively.
Let's educate the lefty. Let's educate the silly lefties, shall we? There are three broad umbrella positions on Israel, okay? There are three broad ones. There is the only correct... Fuck me, why is it so pixelated? Oh, it's on 500, okay. Okay, there is the only correct one. We'll do a little umbrella, okay? There's the only correct position, which is your fucking... There are two national groups who both have a legitimate reason to be there right now, whether you like it or not. You can argue with, you can have contentions about this or that, but the fact that they're there now and they're not going anywhere, deal with it, fuck you. There are two national groups there. They don't want to share the country. They don't get along. They fucking hate each other. There is a rough separation of them on national and ethnic lines that they can they can still quite feasibly be separated into two countries. The Israelis have their country, the Palestinians have theirs, and then they do their thing and they build themselves up until maybe one day in the future they decide whether they want to merge or have a confederation or some fucking EU style shit or whatever. That's it. That's the only fucking rational position, okay? And then you've got your what we put this, the green one. The Israel is the fucking great Satan, fucking one state solution, Houthis are doing the right thing, all that kind of nonsense. And then on the other, you've got your fucking Bibi and right wing onwards. So everything from Bibi and everything to the right of Bibi, which is either at best status quo of settlement expansion, blocking Palestinian statehood, and fucking fighting as aggressively as possible to secure their safety in the Middle East and all that fucking nonsense. That's These are the only three positions really that exist broadly in Israel-Palestine. This is the reasonable one. These two are fucking retarded, okay? I would maybe argue that in some ways this one is the worst one because at least this one, some people benefit from it. Like some group gets something out of it. Like Israel is currently militarily more secure than they ever have been. There's no fucking big armies anywhere near their borders anymore. But still, this is what we have roughly. People like Ethan, me, Destiny, Hutch, we are very, very solidly here, right? Like, and Barry Weiss and fucking the Ellisons and the Trump who basically helped them get with getting where they are, they're solidly over here. They're very solidly over here. These are not the same faction at all. The only thing that these guys really agree on is that sometimes the claims that come from these people, or like a substantial amount of claims that come from these people, are bullshit. Like that's it. But if I was going to find content creators who are aligned on this part of things, I'd be looking to like your fucking Nick Matow or your Haviv Rettig Gurs or fucking Natasha Hausdorff or Honest Reporting and all these, but or Camera. But these accounts get fuck all. They're not actually that big. So, huh. And actually, also, it's not that unusual. People forget this, like with the Ethan Klein thing, especially with the Israel. You realize that if Ethan Klein was in Israel with his politics, they would call him a traitor, right? Like most of them. Ethan Klein's politics speaks for maybe like 5 to 10% of Israelis, maybe. Like that's it. So I'm not seeing the connection.
From the industrial machine that keeps that running. So again, you can't. You can't stoop to their level, but you can't. You have to be firm.
Aren't you forgetting there are people who are one democratic staters, not all Palestinians? That's who I'm referring to here. Yes, these people are retarded. If you think this is a thing that's feasible, like anytime soon, you're just not living in reality. Like what the fuck? Or you're just so fucking arrogant and pompous that you think Palestinian statehood should just fucking wait and sit on the back burner until they're ready to become fucking like Mandela or MLK or like this, whatever.
You can't stoop to their level, but you have to hold a firm line. You cannot allow people to, do this divide and conquer bullshit and try and police.
By the same token, that if you're these people, you basically are fucking delusional into thinking that we basically want to say that this is all Israel, Judea, Samaria. This is like, you see Posiditis Juris, it's all ours. But also, we're definitely not apartheid and we're definitely not going to do ethnic cleansing, but also all the countries are ours, but we don't want to give them voting rights to the Palestinians and the 3 million people in the West Bank and the 2 million in Gaza. But we definitely never deport them or expel them like an ethnic. We never do that either. It's just like, well, okay, so you're just all the things that you like, even if they're completely contradictory. It's stupid.
Associations based on some shit that happened years ago that someone doesn't even do anymore, that you've got no evidence of doing. And it's built into a total lie narrative that is made to vindicate someone on their sex crimes and crush the opposition to their political perspective, right? Because that's what it is. Think about how all this works together, guys. Think about how all this works together. Why did Destiny cozy up to the commentary community all those years ago? Did he do it because the commentary community is a totally inconsequential machine for influencing on...
Really? He mentioned that he and Ela voted for Tzipi Livni during those elections. Kadima won plurality. Surely his opinion represents more than 5% of Israelis, right? That's not... No? How popular is the Kadima position right now in Israel? Are you fucking serious? What, when Olmert was running on the fucking convergence plan, on withdrawing from the West Bank just as they withdrew from Gaza? Really? No? Yeah, that's a faction of Israeli politics that is as good as dead now. Yeah. Well, we can look at Yair Golan's movement. I said 5 to 10, right? Let me see. Israel polls today. Maybe it's 13%. Who fucking knows? I think Golan plus his coalition allies, they're probably 10%. That's my guess from what I remember. But why was this so easy to find? I think it's like everything apart from Channel 14 has roughly the same results. Funny. Dems are 8, 10, 10, 10, 10, 11, 8, 8, 10, 9. Yeah, this is Yair Golan plus his coalition allies. I think Golan takes the majority of these votes, but then Meretz and... I think, is it just Meretz and Labor? based on everything I've heard Ethan say, he would probably be like on the left of the like on the like a left flank of this party here. Whereas your Adelsons and your fucking Barry Weiss and the Ellison, like these guys are like Likud, like they're right wingers.
Line opinion, or did he do it for the opposite reason? Because actually, the ability to reach young men who otherwise feel apolitical, disaffected, or whatever, that's actually a very, very good method of influencing people's opinions. And that those people are often very active online and willing to spread the message further. It's probably more likely the latter, isn't it? It's probably more likely the latter. So why is it that suddenly...
I'm not sure which period he's talking about here, because I used to ignore most of the Destiny drama stuff. Still do, kind of, but... yeah, someone in chat said it. I thought a lot of these commentary people were like orbiters, so I don't know if I don't know who made the first move there, or like, yeah, I don't know how that works. Whatever.
When that's been torn away, all of a sudden, every tactic is on the table to try and crush what has replaced it. It should be pretty obvious to you guys. It's because people were being too effective. All comes after the Kilo video. Nicandros gets targeted because he argued with Dan on Twitter. Leftovers H3 are being targeted because Ethan was being smeared as a Zionist, something that he 100% is. It's just so...
Is that really what he was being smeared as? Is that really where the smear was? I feel like the smear was more to do with the Gila Klein baby killer loves it when fucking Palestinian kids get the shit bombed out of them. I thought that was more where the smears were coming from, but hey. If
you just open your eyes and look at the big picture here, it's so fucking obvious. And I just wish... And
that's where we're acknowledging that these communities see that and Zionism as synonymous.
There are a few more people out there, a few more content creators, a few more people, a few more communities that saw it, that kind of saw through it and recognized what's on the line here, what's actually on the line here, when you allow this insane, litigious freak to try and shut down anyone calling him a Zionist, while he goes on his podcast and bangs on about how anyone saying free Palestine in the wake of October 7th is saying they love Hamas and they deserve to have their family shot, killed, and burned in front of them. Recognize what's on the line when you're allowing that to happen.
Did Ethan say that? Wait, what?
Right. He goes on his podcast. It's free.
Or is he talking about someone else on his podcast?
That saw it. That kind of saw through it and recognized what's on the line here, what's actually on the line here, when you allow this insane, litigious freak to try and shut down anyone calling him a Zionist, while he goes on his podcast and bangs on about how anyone saying free Palestine in the wake of October 7th is saying they love Hamas and they deserve to have their family shot, killed, and burned in front of them. Recognize what's on the line when you're allowing that to happen.
Can I see that? I don't recall seeing that in the... if we're talking in the wake of October 7th, was this when he was fighting with... when he was still talking to Hasan? Okay. I put it in Google. I just put all those words together in Google because they sound very specific. But I'm just getting AI saying he never said those exact words. He said it on the 10th. Did he say it to Hasan? Was it in that conversation? Because I watched all their conversations. Give me the slop. And if it's from the H3 podcast, we're going full context. Okay, we're context broing the shit out of this today. This video, Ethan. Solo podcast responding to chat. Was it on the H3 channel? Because whether or not, you know what, I would even say, whether or not he said that on October 10th, I don't think that speaks to his commentary on Israel-Palestine. Like, do you think that characterizes his commentary on Israel-Palestine over the last couple of years? Even if we went with the most extreme, like if he had a fucking Howard Stern moment because he saw too many fucking videos of like Israeli people having their bodies dragged through Gaza. What did he just convert like 3 days afterwards? Or I should look at the Leftovers podcast, but they might not have the original stream. Ethan Klein. It's obviously not a very compassionate comment towards those who were concerned about the retaliation. See, now your word choice is starting to make me wonder, because are you sure it was people who were concerned about the retaliation? Because I seem to recall that a lot of the Free Palestine calls from October 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, these were from people, this was people who were supporting the attacks. That's what I remember seeing. Like there were people who were worried about the retaliation as well, but that wasn't like, I remember people reacting to the celebrations. That's why the Starbucks boycott happened. Remember that? The Starbucks boycott. It wasn't because Starbucks were loving the fucking IDF and all that shit. It was about Starbucks union branch that wanted to use their fucking logo and posted a picture of October 7th saying what were they saying again? Yeah, they were saying we stand with the resistance. Oh, we have a clip. It's in this VOD. Okay. God, he's so fucking bald.
Everybody,
I made a mistake. I'm sorry.
Welcome
October 9th. Okay.
To the H3 podcast, Bald Edition. Today is October?
It doesn't have transcript. Oh, it doesn't. No, it does. Okay. So let's just look at every mention of Free Palestine, I guess. Let's go here for this first one.
How? How is it wrong? How is it about analogy?
I think what people don't understand when they say that is like what it means to somebody in Israel who's going through grieving right now of so many people around them and their life as it used to be.
Do I want to watch that? It's too fucking long. Maybe something here? Because that's the first mention of Free Palestine, but it sounds like they're referencing it here.
Like, I can't emphasize how much Israel has...
I don't get your point on that because Starbucks is literally one of the oldest boycott targets. Starbucks was a boycott target for a long time because their CEO, I think, was either Israeli or connected to Israel in some way. But no, the post-October 7th blow-up was because of that union. It was because of that union branch. Why are you watching Hutch? I really...
suppressed, fucking destroyed, ruined Palestinians' lives. The worst thing that's so hard impossible to defend is the settlements that are government sanctioned in the West Bank. It's horrific, and it is an act of war and an act of fucking, cultural genocide, and it's horrific.
Okay, settlements are cultural genocide. Okay,
right. And the government of Israel is a colossal
I'm just gonna
failure.
watch.
Netanyahu's
okay,
a
doesn't like the government. Okay,
fucking
Netanyahu's a
psycho.
war criminal. Okay,
I voted against him every time I could, and young people don't fucking want him in there either. I mean, the whole country of
Israel.
Israel.
They hate him. They hate the government. They literally have been protesting. They've been out on the streets like the whole last year. People there are so fed up with the government in Israel. They could not feel any worse about it. They do not feel the government represents them at all.
Oh, here, this is a good analogy too. Let's say a group of Native, and I'm not saying that these are peaceful people. Again, I'm only speaking hypothetically. Let's say a group of Native American terrorists come off of a reservation and come to your fucking neighborhood and start killing everybody, dude. Are you going to be like, hey, I support...
Say, okay, I deserve it. Come shoot me. Come rape me.
But listen, but
because
like...
I was born in this country. Just come and rape me freely. It's my fault. No, if I was there, I would fight for my family and for my home because I need a home to live. My family needs a home to live in, right?
And these...
Like, it's a basic right. Everybody needs that. And the same for Palestinians. I'm not saying they don't. Just like Ethan said, I never voted for Bibi in my life. I never would.
People are wishing death on these kibbutz families, kids, women. Their only crime is being born somewhere. Same as the Palestinians, frankly. I mean, obviously, it's way better off to be on the Israel side, but their crime is being born somewhere. They didn't choose to be born in fucking Israel. They didn't choose.
Even if this clip is real, like, you understand that, like, what a fucking weird way to, like, would you say that accurately summarizes, like, Ethan's broad position on the conflict? It obviously fucking doesn't, but we'll see. Maybe he had maybe this is a schizophrenic stream. I don't know.
Political turmoil. And they weren't settlers.
Well, we'll keep going. We'll find it. We'll get to the bottom of this bastard.
Think about what they're saying. When immediately after a terrorist attack...
I know they worked hard, okay? I know that somewhere, one of the Discord rooms worked really hard to get this clip to Kilo so I can see it, okay? So we have to let it pay off.
I support Palestine. And what they don't mean Palestine, they mean Hamas. Let's say the Native Americans, they come to your neighborhood and they just start burning people alive, killing people, kidnapping kids, desecrating bodies. And the first take is, I support the Native American revenge. I support Native American
resistance. Let's go.
Militia. I support Native Americans. It's like, what? It's like, yeah, of course I support Native Americans too, but like, did you not just see that they killed 700 people? You know? Somebody said I found it oh, maybe I shouldn't read that. It did catch my attention though, and it wasn't about this. I'm only saying that from what I saw, there are people on fucking Twitter, prominent lefties, who are so callous. They feel nothing for these fucking
Are we on 1.25?
dumbest analogy
Holy
possible.
shit.
Shut the fuck up. What's dumber? What could be? It's right on. How's it dumb? The Iraqi one, the Native American one, they're pretty much right on. It's war, innocent people die. All right, so let's bring the Iraqis out.
We haven't seen the whole. We haven't seen. The's like 7 Free Palestine mentions here.
Terrorist groups to your neighborhood and see if you care. If people murder everyone you love, burn them alive. You're such fucking cowards, such losers. You're sitting here in America. By the way, America, who's probably committed the most atrocious crimes against humanity of any recent country, and you're gonna sit here and be like, "Go Hamas." Get a grip, dude. It's literally Columbus Day. That's true. That is an interesting coincidence. I'm sorry. I don't see what's possibly wrong with the analogy. How? How is it wrong? How is it a bad analogy?
I think what people don't understand when they say that is like what it means to somebody in Israel who's going through grieving right now of so many people around them and their life as it used to be. That nobody knows right now what to expect and how long this war is going to last. Like when you come out and say free Palestine after they just lost everybody, they have children taken away from them. That's not, if you're really for humanitarian reasons, that's not what you should be saying right now.
And I'm free Palestine too, right? It's just the timing. I know what it is. You're saying I support Hamas. I mean, that's what you're saying. Maybe not even intentionally, you know. But that
it might not be intentionally, but that is what it means. And that their mission was to kill all Jewish people.
700 fucking people were murdered, dude. Kids, man. They're killing kids, dude. Kidnapping children, burning them alive. And y'all are like, let's go Hamas. Not y'all, but like the left. There's some fucking liberals. They don't care, man. They don't
Is that
care.
where
It's
the
crazy.
burning them
It's
alive
crazy.
thing came from
You know,
as
in
well?
the same sense, it's like,
wait, what did
we
he?
all want
Wait.
While he goes on his podcast and bangs on about how anyone saying free Palestine in the wake of October 7th is saying they love Hamas and they deserve to have their family shot, killed, and burned in front of them.
And they just, the way he's saying that makes it sound like the. Okay, hang on.
And I'm readily admit everything that the government of Israel has done to instigate this, right? And like I also can look at it and admit that the terrorist attack is a consequences of Israel's occupation. I see that, and I understand what you're saying. That being said, I'm pretty sure that you don't need to slaughter 700 civilians and
That number is going to go up, by the way. There's 2,000 injured still, besides that 700, and a lot of them are in a bad condition.
Yeah, and again, it's like the people that they're killing are probably the majority of them are you know, free Palestine too. Palestinian children are dying right now too. Right? Yeah. It's horrible.
Yeah, and I wouldn't.
And I'm not saying go Israel when Israel goes and bombs.
I wouldn't celebrate that. I wouldn't put on music and start dancing to that.
I wouldn't when Israel attacks blows up like a residential building. I don't go to Twitter and say I stand with Israel. I mean, some people do, right? And that's barbaric too. That's psychotic, you know. But I don't do that. And if y'all really want peace, it just makes me wonder, like, do you really think that cheering on Hamas killing 700 people and to be going up is like the Israeli military and even the people of Israel now are being galvanized to go on a full-scale fucking invasion of Gaza? Like the result of this is going to be so horrific. And
the only part here that I think like a left winger would want to take issue with is him saying that at this time, if you're saying free Palestine, you're basically saying you support Hamas, like because of the timing. Like, am I gonna like hold someone to that on October 9th? Like a fucking Spurgout comment. It's funny because like Ethan could actually be more correct than he thinks he is when he's saying that, because like if you take free Palestine in the most literal sense, the reason Israelis get that response, and the reason it's actually a fairly it's not even that crazy to walk down that line. If you wanted to steelman it, like it's kind of like saying, well, who is the government in Gaza? It's Hamas. Who's the most popular political movement in the West Bank? It's Hamas. If you free Palestine, as in you lift the blockade in Gaza, you pull all the way out of the West Bank and end the military occupation and support for the PA and everything else, well, who takes power in the West Bank? Well, you got Hamas. Like logically, they've been leading the polls in the West Bank for the last 15 fucking years. Why wouldn't they take over now that they've got the freedom without the IDF there to stop them using their weapons to take over? And then you've got a situation where you've got like Gaza, but 16 times bigger and on hilltops overlooking fucking Tel Aviv. That's why even when Olmert was considering unilateral withdrawal from the West Bank, even like European countries and even like people close to the UN were saying like that's actually not a good idea because like withdrawal and free Palestine is not supposed to be like unilateral, and especially not after like right after a fucking terror attack. But even then, it sounds like this is very specifically pointed to the people who were bouncing around and celebrating the attacks, which was a thing that was going around on in the media at the time. So I really, dude. I'm just saying, like, whatever I'm seeing here is not quite, it's not quite this, but let's see.
And I feel for the people of Gaza. I feel so bad for them and what's gonna happen to them. And you know, Netanyahu's a fucking moron. He goes, people in Gaza, get out now because we're gonna level it. It's like, get out where, dumbass? It's like a joke that he says that, and he's a bloodthirsty fucking lunatic.
Why should Palestinians ever concede refugee right of return while Israel can still continue doing birthright? Just completely ridiculous. I'm sorry. That's a really good question. Okay, and if you understand my answer, then you're fine. If you don't, you're a fucking retard. Okay, let's see. Israel-Palestine map. Okay, so when Israelis claim birthright and they say, "Oh yeah, we're gonna return to our ancient fucking homeland of 2,000 years ago," for the most part, even the early settlers, where did they go? Did they go to, you know, this is our ancient hills of Judea and Samaria and the fucking wall and no, most of them didn't actually go here. They went to the coast, to places that were, some of them had like some historical significance, some of them were empty, some of them were Arab areas. This is kind of where they went initially. They were not claiming right of return down to the exact fucking coordinates and the house that the plot of land where their old house was 2,000 years ago, even if they could trace that. They weren't going there, okay? They weren't going there. They were going just around the area. Right of return for Palestinians can have this exact same thing. Israelis don't say there's no right of return at all. They offer right of return to Palestine, as in like somewhere, as in like Gaza and the West Bank. And if you do that, if you say it to Gaza and the West Bank, well, that solves it for a lot of people because a lot of those refugees from the 48 war and their descendants are still in the West Bank and Gaza. Like that's why some of those communities there are called refugee camps. And the rest, Lebanon, some in Syria, and other international diaspora, a lot of whom have perfectly good lives outside of Palestine anyway. So we're not, it's like, do you understand that both groups can have their right of return? The issue is saying that you have to have a right of return to the exact fucking town or to the door that you came from. That's, oh yeah, Jordan as well. But yeah, that's not what right of return means when Israelis do birthright, right? Or when they do aliyah. And for the ones who do that, actually, it's fucking horrible. For the ones who do try to claim right of return down to a land plot because they have a document from the Ottoman Empire, that's what Jacob the Settler did. That's what that fat fucking disgusting, wretched cunt did when he basically moved himself into an annex of another guy's house, where they split this fucking poor guy's house halfway down the middle. This guy, Nabil al-Kurd, who had literally given up his refugee status for this house, only to get moved into by a guy from fucking Long Island. That's what they did because they claimed that they had a document that was owned by Mizrahi Jews, not even Ashkenazis, from 1870 or something, even before the Zionist movement. That was Sheikh Jarrah, yeah. That's this thing. Where is it? Jacob the Settler. So yes, right of return to a country makes sense. To a broad country, yeah. Like, especially if you still don't have a state. If you're in Lebanon, you're Palestinian, you don't have a state. If you're in Syria and you're Palestinian, you don't have a state. If you're in Gaza and the West Bank, well, as soon as you get a state, that's kind of solved, right? But right of return to a country makes sense. And Israelis can have their right of return to their country and the Palestinians to theirs. But this idea but that's not what right of return means to Palestinians. You tell a Palestinian right of return means, well, they carve out a Palestine from Gaza and the West Bank, and then you can return there. That's not what it means. It means I've got this big fucking rusty key that I'm going to put in the door of my old house that doesn't even exist anymore, and I'm going to remove whoever lives there, or they can just live next to me, I guess. Deal with me. Like, yeah.
Jacob, you know this is not your house.
Yes, but if I go, you don't go back. So what's the problem? Why are you yelling at me? I didn't do this. I didn't do this.
But
it's easy to yell at me, but I didn't do this.
You are stealing my house.
And if I don't steal it, someone else is going to steal it.
No one is allowed to steal it, يا عمي.
Like that's not that's what right of return means if you're talking about I'm going to produce my Ottoman documents to get the land back. That's that in practice. It's fucking
Jacob,
disgusting.
You know this is not your house.
Yes, but if I go, you don't go back.
Because this house I've been here, but we took pictures of this and spoke to the guy who lives there. The story behind this is that basically, people forget that there were two ethnic cleansings in the 48 Wars, just that one was much, much smaller, right? One was much smaller. They talk about going to specific towns and cities. One, not all of them say that. I've spoken to Palestinians as well in the West Bank, fuck you. But two, okay, do you think that then have a Palestinian state and have them allow Jews to go and live in the West Bank? That wouldn't happen. That would not happen. And it shouldn't happen. It shouldn't have to happen. Like, they shouldn't be obligated to let people fucking do that. But did he end up stealing the house? He still lives there. So what happened here was that in the 1870s, this is just outside of Jerusalem. It's kind of like just on the edge of the municipality. There was this plot of land, two plots of land that were bought by these Jewish organizations that were from, one of them was Mizrahi. I don't know if both of them were. They were from the Middle East. And yeah, it was like 1870 or whatever. They bought this plot of land to build on. In the 48 War, when the Jordanians mostly pushed back the Zionists, and there was the Jordanians took over Jerusalem and leveled the Jewish quarter, and took over the wall and everything else, and the Green Line was drawn. This was on the Jordanian side of the Green Line. So the Jews who owned this land or who lived here had to leave. They ran away. They didn't want to live in a state that was controlled by Jordan. So they left, but then after 67, when Israel occupied the West Bank, there's an in-between there. When the Jordanians controlled this place, some of these Jewish plots were given or sold for very cheaply to some of the refugees in the West Bank. So the guy in particular here, Nabil al-Kurd, was a 4-year-old refugee from Haifa, which became part of Israel. He was a refugee from Haifa. He went over here with his dad, and they were allocated this piece of land to build on. This particular bit wasn't built on. It was owned, but it wasn't built on. And in exchange, they would give up their UNRWA privileges. So their UNRWA, so he's no longer a refugee. He's just a citizen of, Palestine. Or I don't know if he actually was given Jordanian citizenship. Maybe. But in any case, they give him this house. So after the 6-Day War, Israel reclaims the West Bank. They jump in. Well, they claim they occupied the West Bank, and settlers start moving in. And there's like a dispute here over this house for a long time. I think it's up until the 80s when an Israeli court rules that the house is built kind of on the edge of the Jewish-owned plot from the 1700s. So because it's built on the edge, like half of it's in the plot boundaries and the other half isn't. They sealed off half of this house. And then for a while, no one lived in it. And then after that, they eventually started moving people in. And this is how Jacob lived there. So now Jacob lives in half of this house in what is the most disgusting fucking shithole shed, like bomb site. And there's a whole fight now where the settlers deliberately trash this garden and this whole area and graffiti things and just make it like a disgusting place, because the idea is that they want to pressure the Al-Kurd family to leave, and they still don't. That's what they do there. Yeah, that's it. So it's pretty fucking mental. But this is what happens when you talk about right of return in terms of land plots or individual houses or whatever else. It's just a total fucking mess. When they talk about returning to an individual city or a town, again, it's for one, that's just not a privilege that refugees generally get in the world. Most refugees in the world get displaced and then they stay in the country they were displaced to. They become a citizen or whatever else, especially in a conflict unless it's a quick conflict, I guess. But when a conflict lasts this long, usually right of return, passing down descendants like that, normally you'd have a place to live and become a citizen, and that would be you. And you move on, you build a life. But because the Palestinian refugee question is something that is kind of maintained because of anti-normalization and because of the stances of Lebanon and Syria and the rest of the Arab League at one point, it's kind of made to be a permanent issue, which means that rather than 700,000, or be less because West Bank and Gaza, but rather than 700,000 refugees, you got 7 million, right? And then okay, are 7 million people gonna like Palestinians gonna move to Israel, and that's like, and until they do that, then they just have to be stateless, wandering there. Like, that's a ridiculous proposal. It's stupid. But the way that you could get some of it started would be to have peace between the two countries. And then they can start negotiating from there on immigration and stuff like that. If Palestinians even want to, I know they say that they want to. Like one of the refugees that I spoke to was very insistent that he wants to live in Lud, even though it's like a Jewish community now. I'm like you would just go and live with them and leave your family and everything else behind here. Like all of your friends or your job and everything. Is like, yeah. I'm like, okay, but really? To me, that's not the most pressing human rights issue of the conflict. Not even the top 5. Let us half and half. Oh. This is the clip. Okay. Where was it from? Ah!
If you think Hamas is dope, just remember that you, even more than Israelis perhaps, deserve to be burned alive by terrorists. And your whole family.
If you think Hamas is dope. Okay. No one gives a fuck about this kind of like rhetoric. I'm sorry. Wait. How autistic am I? Don't answer that. That's a rhetorical question. Do I still have, were these clips spliced together? How far apart are those? 2 hours 2, 140. They were spliced together. Ah, okay. Damn. Dude, if Kuihman caught me doing something like that, I would be getting it right now. I'd be getting raped, as they say. Fuck! Rhetorically and verbally raped. What the fuck? Click the... Oh, wait, do these cards not all match? Oh, that doesn't match. It's different. He's in a tank top. He's responding to people saying free Palestine in his chat, Loner. They're connected. Thought you're actually fucking retarded. I'm sorry. That's just, what the fuck? If you sincerely believe that Ethan Klein believes that people who say free Palestine, no, I'm not entertaining. I'm not entertaining it. Okay, I like to view people relatively holistically. I don't do this shit. Where the fucking pick all animals that begin life in an object like this one? Wait, what? Oh, they do. Okay, gotcha. Continue. Is there more context? We just look at... Come on, give me this fucking clip, dickhead. Come on. This is the best clip. If I remember this. A popular streamer on October 11th. Oh, shit. I can't believe I remember this.
An aspect of the...
October 11th, my boys.
Civilians are an aspect of the state. Okay. I mean, how do you... This is the problem that you've got. How do you deal with someone that believes that a civilian is a justified target? I hope that you get fucking wiped out in some terrorist attack someday. I just hope you get fucking beheaded by ISIS, okay? That's what I fucking hope and pray for. Fucking, what's your name? Jimmy D, right? I hope I see you tied up with a fucking orange jumpsuit on, getting your fucking neck sawed through by a blade. That's what I fucking hope for one day. And then I'll go, well, that guy's a civilian. He's a justified target. Anyway, sorry. That is actually a thing that I've seen, though. That is actually a thing that I've seen, though.
Who is this fucking Ethan Klein fan over here? Okay, context. There might be context. I'm being retarded. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm lingering on this too fucking long.
Thank you. That's all I have to say. So if you think Hamas is dope, just remember that you, even more than Israelis perhaps, deserve to be burned alive by terrorists.
More than Israelis perhaps. It's so couched, man.
And your whole family murdered in front of you. So there you go. In fact, why don't you just make it easier? Why don't you just fly to ISIS and do them a favor and just let them, just serve yourself on a platter for them because you deserve it. Fucking scumbags, freaks, bloodthirsty savages.
He even said ISIS,
freaks,
bro.
Man. Oh, here's another Israeli one. Ethan, Eli, I know it's hard to present this position to your audience who have difficult time to accept it, but that's why your statement is very meaningful. People need to hear these things. Thank you, Asaf. And again, I'm not even voicing the smallest support for Israel. I am, again, so opposed to the Israeli government, and I fully acknowledge the cultural genocide, the stealing of land, and the provoking and the creation of terrorism are a result of Israel's actions. I don't doubt that at all. In fact, I mean, that's literally what's happening. And also, Palestinians are not fucking Hamas. So y'all being like, Hamas does a massive terrorist attack and your response is, I support Palestine. You're not doing them any favors, because guess what? They're not terrorists. 2 million of those people are probably just peace-loving folks that want to not live in fear and watch their loved ones and homes being blown up.
I mean, Hamas is bringing hell on them too right now, because you know that Israel is going to react, and that's not going to be good for the.
It's like the most fucking milquetoast. It's like the most milquetoast conversation that Israelis can have on this topic. Holy fuck, man!
Civilians, they're going to die because of Israel. Because the Israel government is fucking barbaric, genocidal freaks, and I hate them.
Here come the black helicopters.
Fuck, I know. I hear
you criticize Israel.
You know what I mean? What more do you want me to say? I'm just stopping short of saying.
I guess the chat probably didn't hear it. There was a helicopter flying over the building really low just now.
Basically, I agree with you up to just coming close to saying normal civilians deserve to be murdered alive because of where they were born. I guess that's the only. So if you think that I'm missing the point, then you can fucking go to ISIS and let them kill you for the crimes of your country. Crazy, man. I don't know.
Do you dispute what's happening in the conversation? I just don't want whatever the fuck you're smoking. That's all I can. I can't. I feel like I'm being trolled. I feel like I'm legitimately just like, I feel like there's a group chat. There probably is. There's a group chat of people like workshopping this shit and being like, he's getting so triggered. He's getting so triggered by what you're saying. It's really winding him up. He's really fucking confused right now. No, I'm sorry. Listen, okay. I think Ethan does really fucking retarded shit sometimes, okay? Very retarded shit. Some of it actually on like stuff that I'm quite principally opposed to, like taking a defamation suit to someone because they think you're fucking, because they're calling you a genocide noir or whatever. But at the end of the fucking day, dude, I'll take 1 billion shout outs from this fucking moron compared to like a guy who like literally like openly with his entire fucking chest supports Houthis. Fuck off. Leave me alone. October 9th was when there were still Hamas militants, and because we're talking about someone who's like Israeli and has fucking connections to the country, or has even just seen the scenes. We're talking October 9th when Hamas militants are in the country. What does Free Palestine like literally mean? It means end the occupation and lift the blockade. I'm going to say probably that October 9th, when there are still Hamas militants in the country and hiding in people's fucking houses, pushing beds over it to use them as barricades. There are still rockets getting fired. They're cheering it on. Ismail Haniyeh is literally going on Al Jazeera telling the rest of the Arab world to fucking join in. And you're like, now's the time to lift the blockade and to move the fucking military out of the West Bank. Yeah, and you think that someone hears that and they think, sounds a bit like you want the attack to like continue, or you want it to be kind of like loosened up and just let them go further. Like for someone to think that on October 9th and to make that assumption or to go with that logic is just like, fuck me, man. And how is that whole thing characterized? We've gone from there's a sentiment. Surely that's literally the exact prescription being made when they say Free Palestine. No, I agree with you, Kilo. I agree that most people have no fucking idea what they mean when they say free Palestine. I'm completely on your side there. We're not talking about that, though. We're talking about what it is reasonable for someone to interpret those words as.
That saw it, that kind of saw through it and recognized what's on the line here, what's actually on the line here, when you allow this insane, litigious freak to try and shut down anyone calling him a Zionist, while he goes on his podcast and bangs on about how anyone saying Free Palestine in the wake of October 7th is saying they love Hamas and they deserve to have their family shot, killed, and burned in front of them. Recognize what's on the line when you're allowing that to happen. Recognize what's on the line when you don't
Like
take
it's just a mischaracterization of Ethan's entire position on the conflict. That's it. Like you can hate him for all the other things, but it's just, you know. Where are we? Where were all the other Free Palestine mentions in the transcript? Did he say here? Oh,
Really, for humanitarian reasons. That's not what you should be saying right now.
And I'm Free Palestine too, right? It's just the timing. I know what it is.
It sounds like you think Hamas is fucking amazing, and you should probably hand yourself over to ISIS on a fucking plate for a bit of a you know, make a film together. You know, like a little orange themed film. Let's see. Wait. I'm dying, bro. I'm fucking dying.
Yeah, and again, it's like the people that they're killing are probably the majority of them are you know, Free Palestine too. Palestinian children are dying right now too.
That's a reference to the kibbutzim and them being like peace activists or whatever.
Yeah. It's horrible.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's two. So he's Free Palestine. The people who Hamas killed, he's saying a lot of them are Free Palestine.
The reason I asked is just because you yourself saying that, you know, you have a lot of sympathy for Palestinians and understand the Free Palestine movement and everything. And I just wonder, are people explicitly saying that they like Hamas, or are you reading between the lines?
How would you interpret? Okay, here, let me show you this, and then you tell me what you think. Hold on, I'm trying to find.
Oh, they're gonna look at an example. Okay.
I'm just scrolling. So much fucking. Hold on.
Did you send something?
No, I'm scrolling still. Go ahead.
Hold music.
Oh my god.
Ugh, God. So many posts.
Something I would chime in with, you know, obviously I'm not from there. I do have a family member who lives in Israel. He's lived there since the 60s. And so I was speaking to him over the weekend. And I was very curious because, you know, obviously he's older. And like you were saying, Ethan, that most of the young people are not fans of the right-wing government that is in control of Israel right now. But I didn't know. I didn't know what his opinions would really be like. So I asked him, and I was relieved to hear that he hates Netanyahu and has been against him for a long time. And I guess I'm just bringing up that point to show that it isn't even just like a young generational thing. I mean, there are a lot of older boomer age people as well.
Here.
That,
well, the young Israelis are more right wing, but
here's Mia Khalifa. Okay, fuck it. This picture is from a video of them in trucks just indiscriminately killing people. They're going through a village and they're just murdering people.
Mm-hmm.
There's a video of it, and she tweets it out and said, "This is a Renaissance painting."
This is a Renaissance painting?
That's what she said.
like, I don't know how much more clear it can be. I don't know how you can make it any more clear what he's referring to.
It's a weird thing to say.
Fuck that, dude.
It's psychotic.
Fuck that, dude.
Shit, it's fucked up.
The murder scene.
You're just you're just a terrorist. You're just pro-terrorism.
I'm sorry, that's horseshit.
It's fucking disgusting. And like, again, I support Palestine as much as anybody does. You know. And by the way, irony alert. Hamas would love you, Mia. Go fucking go enlist.
Uh-oh.
I see what you're saying.
By the way, I see a lot of people asking, so my family is okay.
Okay, let's just get through every other
They're safe.
Free Palestine
It's just-
mention.
It's really scary. My mom's like scared she can't, because she's by herself,
Okay, we've
so
done
she
3.
doesn't want to be alone right now.
Okay, here.
Disturbing with this.
And that's it. People go, oh, really? Well, name one person. It's like everywhere all the time. If you don't see it, great. I mean, you know what I mean? I don't have to prove it to you. I'm just telling you my experience. Just telling you what I see. Again, saying Free Palestine does not make you a terrorist. I say Free Palestine. You know what I mean? Let's go. Let's free Palestine. It's the timing. What's so hard to understand? If the first fucking thing after news breaks that 700 people were murdered is I support Palestine. What does that mean? That means something. What does it mean? That's the first fucking thing. Your thoughts isn't like, oh man, wow, a bunch of civilians were murdered. It's let's go. Let's do more of that. Let's keep it going, guys. Mm-hmm. It's got nothing to do with caring about the freedom of Palestinian people. Just saying, it's like so fucking obvious what it means. Don't need to act silly like that's not what it means. Preemptive support for Palestine is not endorsement for Hamas. We knew what was going to happen after October 7th.
Right. I almost brought this up as a potential explanation of people realizing immediately what the implication of these attacks are in terms of the retaliation and the hellfire that's going to be brought down on Gaza as a result. Which they're not wrong. Yes, that is going to happen.
The news is like they're still counting warm dead bodies.
Right. Yeah. What upset
there
you
hasn't
is the
been a
fact
single
that
retaliatory.
It was still playing out.
It's also the fact that like you're saying this when there are still Hamas soldiers in Israel, and they're saying this when Hamas are doing this with initially, if you looked at the polling, the majority of Palestine supported the attacks. And they were operating as the most popular movement in Palestine, with Palestinian flags as the fucking spearhead of the Palestinian resistance movement. So it's quite hard to disconnect Free Palestine from that, unfortunately. Even though after all these caveats, like he's still saying it. But man, on October, like if someone said this maybe now, not even then, like this is just the thing where people have boxed themselves into such a fucking insanely far left position that they're like literally there's a platform with left and right as a spectrum, and you're so fucking far left that you've fallen off and you're literally in the realm of the irrelevant. Like it doesn't make any. It's so fucking stupid.
People are quick to rush to that, but I mean, obviously, this situation.
Do you agree that clip is unambiguous? Unambiguous in which direction? It's unambiguous in the sense that he's saying, yeah, there's nothing wrong with saying Free Palestine, like I'm Free Palestine, but also when that's like all you're going to be fucking chanting, like while there are still militants in the country and while there are still bodies being counted, and when literally this attack has been carried out by the most popular movement in Palestine with the support of Palestinians in majority at this time, and when they are literally spearheading the Palestinian resistance movement, then it's going to sound like you're a little bit, kind of sounds like you support it. That's fine to say, yes. Jesus.
And start this weekend.
Like if you want to free Palestine, if you care about the conflict, you have to understand the people who can free Palestine, and that's Israelis. You have to understand why they hear that phrase in certain contexts and why they jitter, like why they jump at it, like why it bothers them. And it's not because they're just fucking racists who want to, a lot of them are, but it's not just because they have this innate or like ideological need to like spend a third of their fucking budget or whatever on keeping Palestinians prisoner and risking the lives of their own people in fucking drafting soldiers to go and police these areas. It's not because they just like doing that. It's because they understand that when you do the thing in the most literal sense, like when they went out of Gaza or when they withdraw from South Lebanon or wherever else, that just withdrawing without any assurances or any compromises or any agreements from the other side, you just end up like giving a victory to the militants who want to use that freedom and that space to take over and to attack you with more of an advantage. Like that's. But if you don't understand that, you don't understand that sentiment, and you characterize it in this way, you're lost. Like, and this is like the kind of is a perfect example of why this movement has failed so fucking miserably. Because they don't understand. There's like basic things they don't understand.
Firm stand on that. Recognize how the abandonment of that
But by the way, we can never say that Hasan supports Hamas, right? Because he said, oh yeah, I don't think it's a good idea, it's not productive and all that. Meanwhile, he goes on fucking Twitter and tells everyone that Hamas like supports a two-state solution and that they want to that they just want to end the apartheid. That's all they care about is ending the apartheid. Like they're just a bunch of orphans who want to end apartheid. Like, okay, dude. I'm not drinking it. I'm good.
To fuck you very quickly. Could come back around and fuck you very fucking quickly. That principle that you've relied on for your entire career, that you may have made tens of videos defending. First I came for Hasan. Again, that's a corny quote, but absolutely true. But absolutely true. That should have been your warning sign, you know. And we're way deep into it now, you know. Hasan should have been your warning sign. Casey Tron Denim definitely should have been. The Snark lawsuit, dude, if you weren't off by that, you're a fucking insane person. Noah Sampson being sued for saying he backed the genocide. Now it is patently obvious what's happening.
So this is all about Ethan Klein. This is all about Ethan Klein. Specifically. But whatever that has to do with, like, what we were saying earlier with Barry Weiss and the Ellisons, or even Destiny. I thought Destiny hates fucking Ethan Klein. Didn't Destiny call him a fucking... Well, they both see each other as pedophiles right now. That's kind of that's where that got left off.
Yeah. Now it is patently obvious what's happening here. The goal is to litigate criticism of Israel in a courtroom.
It's funny that your chat is declaring it a lie, but you seem to agree with us being characterized. No, to be clear, what, Kuihman's characterization, or Kuihman's characterization is not accurate, to be clear. Like, if you were like, who's Ethan Klein in a sentence? Oh, he's the guy that says that if you say free Palestine in the wake of October 7th, you love Hamas and should be fucking executed. Like, no, that's a smear. That's not an honest characterization of Ethan's politics. Not even fucking slightly. What are you talking about? I was just saying that if you want to understand why someone who is Israeli, or even just like someone who understands something about the conflict, like a bit more than the average pamphlet shagging Westerner, then it's worth understanding like why the phrase free Palestine, especially on October 9th, would be like concerning to people. But these are two different things that you're lumping together to try and sow division. I will not stand for this divide and conquer, okay? You guys, you love me, okay? And you will destroy all my enemies. And the next clip I do, you'll boost it with the rockets and the sirens. Get them out.
People understand that their position has influence. That Ethan Klein understands that him being...
I'm not sowing shit. I didn't say you were sowing shit. I said you were trying to.
Labeled as this crazy Zionist not just makes people hate him more, but makes people hate his country more, his wife more, all this stuff. And so he has both personal and political incentives to try and shut that down as hard as fucking possible. But people just don't clock that. People just don't clock that. People want to pretend there's no underlying motive. So there's no broader narrative motive here. It's just shit flinging. It's just shit flinging. No, there is power centralized in a lot of these communities around a lot of these content creators. There is power and influence centralized around them, and they have to maintain that. And they will try and pretend...
Again, I'm not sure what we're talking about here with power being centralized. I can't get... If you're saying they're big creators, like these people are millionaires, Dan, Destiny, Ethan, I'm up 20K, but it's not quite $1 million. But the Barry Weiss connection is it's so weird, man. I don't get it.
And like they're not doing it for Israel or for politics or something like that, but that is always in their mind. That is always in their mind, and it comes out in their actions. It comes out in their target selection. It comes out in their actions.
For
it comes
Israel?
out in the opinions they express. It comes out in what they cover.
Remember, and anyone can... we can rewatch the... I remember them quite well, the talk between Ethan and Hasan after October 7th. Bear in mind that Ethan was trying to be on Hasan's side in that. He was shitting all over the Israeli government. He was crying about Palestinians who were dying. Hasan literally had to fucking leapfrog him and cry about his own little story about Israel-Palestine. And then it was their fallout was over Ethan expecting Hasan to not support people who celebrated October 7th, like the deprogram. They'd probably still be on the same side with a few disagreements were it not for that issue, right? Like that was the beginning of it. The beginning of it was over like second thought and shit like that. They argued before over capitalism and over fucking China and all that, but it didn't end their show. The beginning of the end was Ethan realizing that Hasan thinks terrorism and support for terrorism is acceptable. Even if you want to endorse it directly, he thinks it's acceptable. It's an acceptable position to be second thought saying that, oh yeah, well, these those kibbutz dwellers who were murdered on October 7th, well, you know, that's they actually stole a bunch of land and killed people's grandparents in fucking 48. So they're criminals, you know, they're not civilians. No, there's no Israeli civilians. And Hasan just sitting there trying to intellectualize that position. Dude.
And it goes all the way down. I'm not just talking about Destiny, Ethan, whoever here.
Oh.
I'm talking about Nick. You know, I'm talking about Augie. I'm talking about myself. Everyone has an understanding of how this actually works, really, deep down. People will try and pretend, like Chud, will try and pretend to absolve himself of any responsibility, that there is no influence from any YouTube video ever, that watching a Turkey Tom video on, you know, the Charlie Kirk shooting, where he says, Charlie Kirk was a little bit controversial. Anyway, there's a trans cult spreading widely across the internet, like that Crimes New Romans guy said. People want to pretend there's no influence that has because they want to both absolve themselves of any responsibility so that they can sleep easy at night when they know they're betraying their principles, and also so that people are unable to latch on to something they say and make a criticism of them that bites. Because if you say that I have no influence, I have no effect, you're able to take the wind out of a lot of criticisms. But that's not true. That's a lie. People do have influence, and it's obvious they do. You will hear Diorio viewers say things like, dude, nothing has made me hate the pro-Pally cause more than seeing Nick cover Casey Tron Denims and Frogan. They say that. They say that. You can find Reddit comments saying that. You can find YouTube video comments saying that. Because that is the purpose of the content.
Who's having the influence there, though? Because what I see is people like Hasan or Casey Tron or Denims and all these people deliberately shrinking their movement. I think people like ContraPoints would quite gladly be part of that little group if her position was a bit more accepted, which I guess was, let's maybe not try to destroy Israel or try to speed run into the 2024 election a full defunding of like decades after decades of precedent supporting it with Israel. Like, yeah, that was but it seems like these movements like to shrink themselves. They like to close themselves up. It's not just that you, you're not just someone who wants to end the war, wants to oust Bibi and Hamas and establish a Palestinian state alongside Israel so there can be peace. That's not the movement. The movement is Zionism is the fucking devil and needs to be rooted out from the Middle East like a fucking cancer. And and actually a lot of these resistance movements are kind of based actually. Huh?
Whether Nick wants to consciously accept it or not, that is the purpose of the content. It is to absolve Ethan, and by extension, absolve Israel. And that's why there's so many interested parties. That's why the ADL latches onto his campaigns. That's why Dan works with the ADL. That is how it functions. So there really is quite a lot.
Holy fuck, man. It's this thing. No, absent this, these guys are fucking mortal enemies, just to be clear. Like, not to mention the fact that they're like, you know, anti-Trump, pro-Trump. That's a general thing as well. Not to mention that, again, you put Ethan in Israel, he's a traitor. To most people, he's a traitor, okay? He's a fucking danger, accusing them of fucking genocide and calling settlers military targets and all that shit. Dude, like, man, he would be so fucking hated by the majority of people in Israel. Just because these two people see problems with this, and because also the stats show it, there is a pretty unprecedented, very large rise in anti-Semitism in the West. So obviously people who coalesce around not liking anti-Semitism are going to have like a fucking issue with that, even if it means, I guess, did Dan do an article in the Free Press? Was that what people were saying? Shit, man. I feel like half of Ethan's complaints is he wants people to think that he doesn't love Israel as much as they say that he does.
When you're posting like hell.
Also, if I remember correctly, that article, was it in the Free Press? He was trying to advocate for like Mallory McMorrow for her record.
There really is quite a lot against you, okay? You are actually going up against quite a sophisticated international Psyop machine. And Stale, I spoke to Stale the other day. Stale's got some crazy claims he makes about this stuff. This was said in the public VC, so I'll just share it now. Stale literally claims, this is what Stale claims.
Dude.
Stale claims, no joke.
He's international. He's talking in the same way that Israel talks about that, like the Hasbroids, the way that they talk about the UN and Qatar and the education system and all that. Like, which again, in both, like in their case, there is also some truth in it. Like there is a lot of funding to Middle East studies programs that comes from Gulf countries that sell a very, very biased perspective on the Middle East. The UN, for whatever reason, there are maybe a few reasons, has appoints very biased people to positions where they investigate the human rights situations in Israel and Palestine, and you can literally just demonstrate why their reports are biased or like unreliable in a lot of ways. But by the same token, also America has a pretty sufficient amount of people who are still Republican, who are still pro-Trump, and by extension pro-Israel, and there is a media demand for that. And Trump is a corrupt fucking buffoon who is going to elevate people who want to be in media positions where they can propel that argument. It's not just the Israel thing though. With them, with people like the Ellisons, it's like, aren't they also? I can't remember which one is or if it's Barry Weiss, but aren't they also like quite big on the anti-woke thing as well, domestically? Because not everything is about Israel, but oh god. But this is just again what the reason both of these things are true is because there's just polarization. But like again, international fucking psyop, dude. Fuck me.
But FBI agents or government agents contacted him through family members to inquire why he was deleting so many negative posts about Casey Tron and denims. Now, I don't know that I believe that. I don't know that I believe that. I wouldn't go the full way. I would need to see a bit more. I would need to see way more, you know? I would never stake anything on that. I would literally never stake anything on that. Don't get too excited by that, because I would literally never stake anything on that. Ever. You know? That sounds crazy.
Barry Weiss is really into anti-cancel culture, free speech junk. Yeah, that's what I remember. I remember Barry Weiss, that's kind of like the explanation for the New York, for going their separate way from the New York Times, right? It was to do with the fucking, like, been taken over by wokeness and woke orthodoxy and shit. Yeah.
That sounds crazy. However, the point that's being made there in that story is true. The point is true. There is massive interest from these huge, powerful bodies across the world in how these issues are presented on the internet. There is a huge incentive for, say, the ADL to run a Psyop campaign on Reddit, to run a Psyop campaign on Twitter. That is the reason, I believe even explicitly, that the Ellisons bought TikTok is because of the anti-Semitism on there. Because that does actually, this stuff does actually have an impact. So that's sort of like the more political side of it. But there is just a baseline, even if you don't give a fuck what happens with Trump.
Pretty sure the main incentive for the TikTok switchover was because of the fact that it was China and national security concerns. At least that's what they spoke about a lot, because of like American data and shit like that. That's even if you assume the Ellisons particularly took it over for the anti-Semitism, but no, like the reason they were able to do it would have been because of the China thing. Remember, Trump and his administration still fucking hate China, and they're still obsessed with the Chinese national security question, and they all think that there's going to be a fucking war with over Taiwan in 2 years. But okay, and also they are pro-Trump, and Trump is pro-them because they're pro-Trump. Like, there's it's not quite that single issue.
Trump or the Democrats or Israel or Palestine or fucking Sudan or whatever even if you do not give a fuck about that and you just like watching internet content and talking shit about it, they are breaking those principles. They are not just breaking those principles as in they're doing things that break those principles. They are trying to like break those principles. They're trying to obliterate them from the internet for the benefit of Israel. So you can ignore all the political stuff, but they are still trying to fuck with what...
The stated reason is always the reason. Trust the admin at their word. Well, given that it was bipartisan legislation, I don't know. Why am I engaging with these fucking idiots, man?
You enjoy. They are still trying to fuck with your life, basically. They are trying to make it so you cannot talk as freely online. That if you have an issue with a big content creator, you are looking over your shoulder because what if they sue me? What if they dox me? And who does that benefit? It doesn't benefit everyone, does it? It doesn't enforce a new standard where people are just nicer online. It benefits like rich, amoral scum. It benefits people who are insulated from the effects of lawsuits, doxing. It only benefits people who can protect their own speech on their own. It does not benefit you as a chatter. It does not benefit you as a content creator. It does not benefit you as a Reddit mod or whatever the fuck. It benefits exclusively the most powerful scum in the world. And that used to be something people cared about. That did used to be something people cared about. And like I said, it's literally, it isn't a, it's not, it should not be, anyway, divided on political lines. As much as there is a political motive at the top end, and people on the bottom end, like the Oreo, serve that motive. Sometimes knowingly, I think. Sometimes knowingly. Serve that motive. It shouldn't be drawn along political lines when you're opposing the tactic. You know, it's not, it shouldn't be no bad tactics, only bad targets. You should understand that some tactics introduce a corrosive element that will only cause problems for everyone, you know? It will cause problems for all sides.
I'm starting to think that this server, whatever the fuck is in it, is actually not that much of a nothing burger. I don't know why the fuck you'd be talking like this if the... Oh, God. What the fuck sparked all this, man? Where did this come from? I get... They hate Ethan Klein. And Ethan Klein is litigious, and he does use the law to... I would argue to just like bully some people. I think with the or I guess in his eyes counter bully, but whatever. But how this connects to Diorio and Destiny and Dan? What the fuck, man? And this is happening when Hasan is getting like fucking puff pieces in every other mainstream outlet. He didn't get that 2 or 3 years ago. What are we talking about? Just defaulted. What happens there? She defaulted and she said, I can't pay for this lawsuit, or she defaulted as in like the judge did a default judgment? What does that mean? Science. Let's go dump the logs, big gup. If the people in that server are so convinced that it's a nothing burger, why don't they dump the logs? Dude, dumping the logs, me, that would entail me looking at them and wasting my fucking time with them. Yes, thank you, Spider. Thank you very much for this fabulous fucking discourse. Chub logic. Is that because he was saying something similar to Ethan Klein? I don't fucking know, man.
I remember just a few years ago, you know, MAGA people would have banged on like crazy about people getting doxxed and fired from their jobs for, you know, saying, yeah, what the fuck would they say? What do MAGA people say?
For saying trans
I love
women
ICE.
are...
I don't know, bro. They would say some shit like that and they get doxxed and fired from their job. Now they clap and laugh us on the other side. And don't get me wrong, lefties were doing that for a long time too, you know. But there used to be a bit more of a centralized nexus on the internet of people who opposed it either way, right? There would have been 5-10 years ago, even for someone as hated as iDubbbz is now, if what was happening to iDubbbz now was happening back then, there would be a massive rallying. And anyone saying, oh, actually, no, fuck, I would have been chased down, You know, you can go back and find old commentary community tweets where they're saying stuff like, with all these deplatforming campaigns over jokes, we're clearly not doing our job well enough, because they understood that their position was to appeal to this core online of young, often disaffected, often white, you know, let's be real, men who are very active online and very willing to spread messages, and they would weaponize that for the sake of maintaining some kind of order, maintaining some kind of, you know, the gentleman's agreement of online discourse. But that has been completely abandoned. That has been totally fucking abandoned. So I really do feel like if, you know...
Do you think Kuihman genuinely believes any of this? He probably, yeah. I don't think he would say something he doesn't believe. I don't know why he would do that. It's just, I just wasn't aware that he was that kind of, like, there are some things that I saw in the logs that I guess are maybe a little bit fucking that make more sense right now. I remember he was really giddy because Hasan attacked me. He responded to me over the United States of Israel thing. Him trying to make like all of the ICE killings about fucking Israel. It's like the Israeli training that made them do this type shit, right? And I remember Kuihman being really giddy about Hasan like calling me a fucking retard or a cuck over that or whatever. But I thought he was just like enjoying the, I don't know, the fucking the memes or the, oh, you're getting owned on the internet or whatever, like you're getting blown up. I didn't consider for 1 second that that Kuihman might have been the kind of person to believe something like that. Because the very simple response to this is that countries all over the world, even countries that are technically rivals, will cooperate on international and on domestic security. They'll share intelligence, they'll share training methods, they'll share all kinds of shit with each other. They'll train each other because this just, it seems to benefit all groups, because groups different police forces, different security forces deal with different situations, which is why post 9/11, lots of countries want to talk to Israel because Israel knows how to deal with suicide bombings. They went through plenty of them. They know how to deal with like particular kinds of terrorism better than other countries do. But to say that because like an unspecified really number of ICE people went to Israel for seminars or training suggests that ICE were trained or like barely trained apparently. Like ICE, I thought the whole thing with ICE officers was that they didn't even get training, like barely. Like I thought they were very untrained and they behaved like untrained people. But yeah, the idea that some of their like brutal methods are influenced by Israel, or their, what was it Hasan said, spiritually Israeli. But the connection was so fucking loose. It's like, yes, some officers are like, there's some overlap in terms of like political allegiances between Trump's guys and Netanyahu's guys. But like, I'm sorry, but if you said this about any other country, you would just call it conspiratorial and racism, right? Like, you know that, because I could do this, right? Imagine there was a country, okay, that hosted, that first of all was clamping down on protesters back in the 90s and actually massacred some of their protesters. And around the time that they were doing that, one of the only countries that they were cooperating with in the West with riot control experience and everything else was the state of Israel, right? And what if later on, when Israel was fucking sniping people during the March of Return and like kneecapping 6,000 fucking people and their soldiers were bragging about it? What if I told you that on the same fucking year, there was a seminar being hosted by Israel that was being attended by a Chinese ambassador for Israel to talk about national security? Like, that country is China, right? Like, way back in the day, before Tiananmen Square, China was dealing with rising discontent, right? I took some notes on this from a book because this is kind of where the thread was to begin with. This is from Maurice Meisner, who's a historian on the CCP, the Chinese Revolution. The social unrest did not escape official notice. Mobile armed police forces were organized in anticipation of disorder, and police officials were dispatched abroad to learn the latest anti-riot techniques. Remember, it was the Chinese the PLA, the military, that fought with the protesters in Tiananmen Square. Well, one of quite a few, not that many countries, that was actually China's back door to Western technology, military technology, in the 80s was Israel. And America had a big problem with Israel for doing this. Before '89. So when you've got like the PLA going through Tiananmen Square, like one of the few countries that was giving them access to Western military technology at the time, it was Israel. In 2019, Israel, along with 30 other countries, went to a counter-terrorism forum in Beijing that was particularly focused on sniping by special forces, like special forces sniping units. And that was in 2019. What was going on in 2018, 2019? It was the March of Return. And it was an exchange. It wasn't Chinese people teaching Israel. Like, so what's happening here? Were the Israeli snipers at the Great March of Return, were they spiritually Chinese? Or the Chinese being spiritually fucking Israeli when they use sniper units? Like, no, countries cooperate and they exchange information, even when they are on not the greatest level of allegiance. Yeah, Chinese police trained in Israel before the Olympics. Fucking, dude. people talk about the LAPD. Hasan the other day was talking about the LAPD and their fucking Israel IDF influence, but they'll never talk about. There's a whole like audit actually of the LAPD in particular. One of the countries that the LAPD trained in was Thailand. They trained with the Royal Police at a time when Taiwan.
9 one-piece images and tell me what you see.
At a time when Taiwan was being described as a semi-elected government that was military dominated and was using repressive tactics, including arbitrary arrest and intimidation. So was the LAPD being spiritually Thai if they arbitrarily arrested something? Like, no, because at the end of the day, these countries exchange information all the fucking time. Jordan actually is another one that does a lot of counterterrorism cooperation with America and Europe. Like, there's so many. Like, it's a lot. In Iran, their internal. I said Taiwan. Oh, Thailand. Sorry. Iran, when they were murdering fucking 7,000 protesters in the space of like 3 days, mostly unarmed protesters as well. Like almost all of them were unarmed. The Iranian security apparatus for domestic security and internet control, especially, is Chinese. But are they being spiritually Chinese when they do that? When they murder their protesters? No, because for all of these exchanges and all this training that happens, if America and American police or ICE do something that's against human rights, that's because America decided to, because the American forces decided to. It's their choice. The Israelis can say, "Oh yeah, well it is a great technique to fucking." My accents are fucked right now. It's a great technique if you just fucking well, I don't know, like shoot this guy in the fucking eyeballs for chanting Free Palestine. But if an American official decides to do it, that's on them. That's their decision to take on that thing. But yeah, bro, why did I get onto that again? Oh yeah. So when I was making fun of Hasan for talking about the United States of Israel shit, because you could literally apply this to any country, any two countries that have security coordination. And Kuihman was celebrating Hasan like blowing me up over it. I just thought it was for the memes. I didn't know he might be the kind of person who actually believes that shit. I don't know. Fuck knows.
Any of this is resonating whatsoever. Anyone that agrees with even a little bit what I said, whether it's a political angle or the more principle angle, consider that. I really do think, like, could I be doing more? Could I be doing more? You know? Am I on the wrong side right now? Have I been psyoped? Am I allowing my temporary emotion, the gratification I'll feel from watching a video of iDubbbz homeless, to overwrite a more reasonable, more honest core that you may have inside of you? That actually says, I quite like the way the internet is. I quite like the way the internet was 10 years ago. I really don't want it to be like this censored, rigged, pro-Israel, shithole. I don't want it to be that. I don't want it to be that. I want to stop that. And just think, is there more you could be doing as a poster, as a content creator? No, Denim's just cringe. See, I know you're joking.
He is really making it a lot about Israel, isn't he? The thing about that is, like, even if you can take issue with the Allisons running TikTok, like I would, but and they're also, to be clear, the Allisons also run the same organization that handles their algorithms as well. So there's very direct control. Was it any better when it was fucking China doing it? Dude, the content on TikTok before the takeover was not exactly non-partisan either. It was fucking insane.
That is the mindset. Exactly. It's chilling to speech. It's chilling to speech. And that's the goal. And that is the goal. It is just to make it so the powerful can make you stop talking. That's the setup they want. People already in those positions of power want to make it so that if you're criticizing them, they can stop you talking. Yeah, so stuff like the skulls, these are old principles that were held pretty firmly, is the harasser is responsible for the harassment. I mentioned this earlier. The harasser is responsible for the harassment they do. Or if someone incites it directly or coordinates it,
is community management not a thing as well? I thought it was.
They're responsible for it.
Again, I don't know who sent the skulls, but I don't think like it has to be direct. It's funny because a lot of you could quite easily put this same. Hasan doesn't use lawsuits because I mean, maybe he would if he was less lazy, I guess. I don't know. Or if he thought he could win a defamation lawsuit or a copyright. The copyright thing would be funny, I guess, because it's obviously empty chair boy. But if he, Hasan doesn't use lawsuits, but does he not use other kinds of tactics as well? Does he not like to blow up like some of the most unsavory like harassers on the internet so they can kind of like do his, and incidentally, whether he means it to or not, they do his dirty work for him? Or is Hasan not the one who's like fucking texting people when he thinks that they're like when he thinks they're doing him dirty, and then they feel fucking pressured to change their fucking statements and stuff like that? Dude, there's a lot of Hasan pressure that goes out there. I remember that when he was friendly with me. I felt like for a minute, you can probably watch it happening on stream for a few weeks. Like when I'm like, I don't know, like, is it really worth it, you know, career-wise to go too hard on this guy? It's not like I need to use Hasan to push my fucking politics or whatever, but I just, you know, I couldn't help myself, dude. This guy was fucking speaking some shit. He was speaking some shit and I couldn't help make fun of him for it. And then, you know, he got really angry and said I wanted to fucking celebrate sniping children and shit. Fuck me. Oh yeah, you tried to fucking police Vosh over the Ukraine stuff. I remember that as well. Shit. Fuck.
You're not responsible by just being on the forum where all the people that hate this person are. You may even remember
That's
on
true.
that.
What about
You may
mods
even
though?
remember, Destiny went so far as to argue that KF wasn't responsible for the majority of the harassment that Keffals was receiving. It was actually website zero, right? You may even remember that. That may hit the back of your head. Obviously, that's not even a statement you can really prove. You literally can't even prove that's the case. It's kind of a stupid fucking thing to say, to be honest. I wouldn't.
That would be quite stupid. Obviously, the website zero would be more scary in terms of how much they can get on you. But as far as I recall, they weren't like a sizable community, whereas Kiwi Farms was like regular posters and discourse. So yeah, Kiwi Farms would obviously be more responsible, especially given Keffals, because Keffals didn't talk about website zero. She was quiet about them.
Like, I would never say, you know, Leftovers H3 isn't responsible for most of the harassment that Ethan received. No, I would say you can't blame a subreddit as an amorphous collection for the actions of individuals that happen off platform. You know, it's not about attributing it to a different place. It's about the standard being broken. It's about there being a standard of attribution for actions, and you ditching that for the purpose of getting one over, of shutting people up. And that's the only goal. That is the only goal. So I'm assuming you think Shamu shouldn't be disavowed because the behavior was 4 years ago. It's not even about being 4 years ago, dude. First of all, I said this at the start. I don't have hard lines for association. I've never enforced hard lines for associations for other people. Even for Destiny. I don't say no one should associate with Destiny. Never say that. Literally never say that. So I just don't have that standard. Sounds like Shamu did something fucked up. I don't know what else to do with that. I literally don't know what else you want me to say about that. That's just not something I believe in. I don't believe, you know, it's like saying, oh, you're against shoplifting, but your friend shoplifts. Yeah, I know a bunch of shoplifters. Yeah. I know a bunch of people that shoplift. When Kuihman starts full screen, I get the same feeling I do when my boss tells me to close the door when I come into his office. Thank you for $5. Thank you. What do you think? Can you explain what Shamu did? Wasn't it just Discord stuff or more? It's stuff from a different Discord 4 years ago, where apparently he doxed someone involved in sector stuff, you know, all the Ethan Ralph types. I assumed, you know, I'm going to be real, Shamu was pretty open that he was,
it was exactly 3 years ago, but yeah,
in sector troll groups. He said that publicly many times. I kind of just assume all that behavior kind of comes with it, you know. When you're in those places, that's kind of what I assume they're doing. You say sector troll group to me.
Can you give me an AI summarization of his position? The thing is, he's not really committing to anything too concrete with the connections with Israel and the Free Press and Barry Weiss and the Allisons and the industrial pro-Israel, e-Israel. Dude, it's so weird that happens when I'm literally on Twitter thinking I'm in the fucking Fourth Reich, which is also, like, incidentally, run by a pro-Trump a pro-Trump guy, like a very pro-Trump guy, and Elon Musk, or at least that was what it was when he bought it. But no, like when it, I guess there's a domino somewhere. There's a small domino, which is me making fun of Sulfur for her dog shit fucking research notes on my stream, and saying there's a server of unemployed retards who are fucking around. I think brigading was the one concrete thing I accused them of, and also unemployment. That's the small domino, and then there's a few missing dominoes there. But there's a few other dominoes, and then there's a big gap, and then there's Israel. Yeah, I'm not really seeing that bit.
I think, like doing crazy shit. Honestly, if all Shamu did was post a Doxxing, a wellness check, probably on the lower end of sector troll groups, to be honest. Do you remember that guy's Zoom? I don't want to get into that, but if you know, you know. But it's not even about how bad it is. It's literally not even about how fucking bad it is. It's like, it's not relevant. Talk about the flashbang dogs. Oh yeah, he swatted someone and got their dog killed by a flashbang. That was it. Ian Miles Chong's dog got killed by a flashbang because Zoom swatted him. That happened. Okay, so that was the claim anyway. That was the claim. Beast mode. Okay, man. So yeah, fuck it. Let's just summarize this. Principles you care about are directly under attack. Literally, no matter what community you're in. If you like posting in an inflammatory tone online, principles you care about that allow you to continue doing that are directly under attack from some of the most powerful, wealthy people in this space, even Klein Destiny. Directly under attack, okay? The attribution of harassment, community responsibility, basic things rooted in internet freedom that have allowed this ecosystem to exist for the last 15 years it has. And when I say this ecosystem, that expands past just commentary, that's any Leftovers H3 and H3 Productions, that's any DGG, that's any Hasan fan. They all post inflammatory stuff online. They all enjoy doing this. And you should, when you post something inflammatory online, the response should be that they post something inflammatory back that debunks you, or they lose, right? The response should not be they dox you, they harass you, they swat you, they file a lawsuit against you. That should not be the response. People should be engaging, using the tactics, using the tools that are moral and right to use, that are just to use. And that includes snarking. It does include snarking. When is DGG ever doxed? Okay, that's a troll comment. That's literally a troll comment. They post JSOX docs on Twitter all day. What do you mean? Oh. What are you talking about? Are you retarded? Are you a fucking idiot?
Oh,
shit.
You're
dumb as shit. Oh, you're dumb as shit, bro. So, yeah, these principles are directly under attack in a way they have not been for years, okay? And it is honestly disgusting that even though IDubbbz has fallen out of favor, even though I understand IDubbbz fallen out of favor, he does fucking suck now, he did a lot to generate and protect those principles in the early part of his career. And even when he turned on that version of himself, he didn't attempt to destroy those principles. He cried and said he'd learned empathy and he felt bad about stuff he'd done, but he never attempted to break the principles. He never attempted to stop people behaving within that scope. He never attempted to coerce them out of it. He never attempted to financially extort them out of it. Never. Just not the case, period. So it's quite disgusting to me. But given he has had a good few years of decent service, if you want to call it that, followed by a few embarrassing years, people aren't willing to stand up and just say, actually, no, that's fucking wrong. What's happening there is actually fucking wrong. And be firm, vocal, forceful even about enforcing that, about making sure that stands. He didn't DMCA or sue a snark, which by the way, H3 fans run a snark. Yeah, and they will post insane stuff. All those people will post insane stuff. IDubbbz A-logs are insane. See, I guess I am kind of an appeal, okay, to no more brother wars, okay? No more brother wars. If anyone gives a fuck about this stuff, focus on the enemy, okay? Seriously. And that's not me talking to the Aidens, the J-Stooks Morales. I think they all understand. This is more broad. I'm trying to get this message a little bit out there more broadly to, do I even name names? I don't even know if I want to name names, but there are people who I know must see this and must see how fucked up it is, and they just aren't pushing the boat out. They just aren't sticking their neck out just yet. They just aren't standing on their own 2 feet. Augie's in hiding, okay? Augie's in hiding. But Turkey Tom is a great example. I've got huge issues with Turkey Tom and many of his past videos. I've talked a lot of shit about Turkey Tom. I'm sure he feels like I absolutely fucking hate him. I'm sure he probably doesn't feel much different about me, okay? But that really shouldn't matter when there's this sort of existential threat. And it did not matter to him in the past. That's why he had Destiny and Null.
No more brother wars. I wonder if that's the same rationale that the coordinated international effort between liberal Zionists and right-wing Zionists was then saying, listen, okay, we don't like each other. I kind of want you guys to die. I want to put you in Hamas in a fucking cage so they can just kill you all. But also there's a lot of anti-Semitism, so no more brother wars. But that would obviously assume that the international industrial effort is like a valid theory.
On his stream to talk during the Keffals stuff. That's why he interviewed Null around that time. I remember I was watching a bit of that last night. I hear him say, I've only just started caring about free speech. It feels like it's being ripped away online. Well, that incident didn't end up being quite as devastating as it seemed like it was going to be at the time. Yes, Cloudflare removed Kiwi Farms, and that was totally fucked and fucked Josh's site for fucking ages. But he did get his own bespoke solution set up. He is able to still operate. He is able to still operate. So it didn't end up being as devastating. But imagine precedent gets set off of one of these lawsuits. Does anyone take Turkey Tom serious to begin with? I mean, yeah, they do, yeah. You can like cope, but I don't take him particularly seriously. But he's like got a multi-million sub channel, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people.
Not really knowing what he's responding to with this. I'm not really sure what this what he's responding to, where people are saying that people don't have influence. But okay.
Video. They listen to the things he says, and they intake his opinions.
That can't be anyone we know.
Take his recounting of a story, of a drama, and they incorporate that into their understanding, and then they go out and post about it, and they go out and influence other people. See, there are people like Turkey Tom, who I know deep down they must know how fucking wrong this is, and they're either scared or too self-interested to take a stand right now. So I'm appealing to people like that, maybe. Stand on your own 2 feet. I'm appealing to the Noah Samsons and the overzealots, who may not like the fact that some people around here say slurs or that Big Bungie's a Restore supporter, but they must recognize the shared principle that allows all of us to operate. They must recognize that. And Noah Samson, I'm not talking shit on Noah Samson. Noah Samson's in a lawsuit. Noah Samson is fighting. But there are other people, even overzealots, I think, he's sort of just a little bit more firmness, a little bit more aggression.
But Noah Samson's fighting because he has to, because he's sued by Ethan Klein. Noah Samson doesn't give a fuck about you. Or like, if Noah Samson saw like 0.1% of the slurs in your Discord, he would fucking... Maybe you'd get a fucking smear piece about you from him if you wanted to. Dude, like, Noah Samson used his YouTube channel to like do a fucking call to arms against people. Like, what the fuck? Like an actual, like you can say it was thinly veiled or whatever, but it was not. It was like, it was thin enough that it was very obvious what he wanted to happen. That's why he deleted it from his fucking video as soon as he was caught doing it. Overzealots, what's their connection to overzealots? I wonder. Wouldn't think overzealous is the kind of person who would come across Kuihman's radar. Oh, was that why one of the times I spoke to Kuihman, he thought that Ethan was wrong about the Iraqi bombings? I feel like that came up, but that might have been an overzealous point. Because I know that he made that. Overzealous, to be clear, is the person who I managed to convince Teuton, actually, that he was being somewhat anti-Semitic, at least by lefty standards of calling people bigots. But I don't recall Kuihman fighting very hard on that point. I say bombings, it was like a grenade. But let's see.
This is a time of...
Was it this one? I was playing chess. Well done, retard. The overzealots video. What the fuck? Yeah, it was this video. I remember once Kuihman said something that reminded me of this take, but maybe he got it from overzealots. Okay. But I guess this is like what's the common cause here? That's what I find that's why I don't understand, because from my understanding, I think Kuihman's like a center left guy, like he votes Labour and shit. So, and actually, as far as I remember, last I heard when we spoke, he thought my positions on Israel and Palestine were like fairly reasonable, but I was actually fleshing them out. I'm sure he doesn't think that anymore, but I don't think he supports the same shit that Noah and overzealots and those people do with regards to like the future that they want for Israel and Palestine. But yeah, the common cause here, actually, to be fair, if they probably knew like a fraction of Kuihman's opinions, they'd probably fucking despise him and call him a fascist. But the common thread is literally just that they don't like Ethan Klein, isn't it? They're anti-Ethan Klein.
A little bit more focus on how fucked everything is getting and how fucked the context it's happening in is. Because they must see that. They must see that. Even if they don't like the slurs, they don't like the racism, the Restore supporters or whatever, they must see how fucking corrosive this is, and they must recognize it in that broader context of the moves being made around social media in the last couple of years. They must see that. So it is kind of now or never. These
people, the two of those people you mentioned, support and gleefully support authoritarian regimes that don't give a fuck about free speech. I don't understand this. It's silly. Like Noah Samson and Overzealous, these are like the kind of people who would 100% support free speech exactly until the moment they have power, and then they'll be against it. Like back when we had the fucking deplatforming discourse, do you really think, like, what side of that do you think they'd have fallen on? Like Empty Signifier basically just arguing like ban conservatives. Okay, that's quite a fucking, that's a broad brush.
Do or die, exactly. It is. Either you stand for this shit like now, or there's going to be some serious fucking rape on people that don't deserve it, and it's going to chill speech in a way that is just totally fucked. It already is, to be honest. Already is chilling speech in a way that is totally fucked. There is no reason you should be concerned about calling Ethan Klein a genocide supporter. There isn't. There is no reason you should be concerned about talking about Destiny sharing non-consensual sexual images and videos. Yet people are. Because people who are in those positions of power and influence have neglected their role. They have neglected their responsibility. Your Diorios have neglected their responsibility. They took that position that they hold now by appealing to those principles, that every young man online gives a fuck about. And that's how they rose. That's how they got respect. And now they're in that position of power. Now they're essentially the custodian of that principle, not just the
I don't know about Diorio, but obviously Ethan called Destiny a non-consent sharer and quite a lot worse as well, didn't he? Wait, did Ethan call Destiny a pedophile, or was it just Destiny called Ethan a pedophile? My understanding was that they were mutually assured pedophile. Like they called each other pedophiles. They traded accusations. They double nonced. Literally, no one is scared about calling out Tiny. Yeah. Again, that whole thing with obviously Destiny believes that there's been like a level of A-logging and special interest in his personal life that he's used to justify doxing people. I have not followed enough of Destiny's drama to know what the correct answer is there. As far as Dan's one goes, I'm kind of understanding of it with the Gato and Liquid Sonic guy. No, not Liquid Sonic. Sorry. Who the fuck was it? Why did I keep bringing that name? Lamb, Comrade Lamb. How the fuck would your brain get those two? Anyway, because Comrade Lamb was calling Dan a pedophile like incessantly across hundreds of posts. And the Gato guy was trying to dox Dan first publicly. Liquid Sonic is another. Is he? I've never seen Liquid Sonic doxing anyone.
Coming up, criticizing the ones breaking it, they have abandoned post. Keno Casino are the biggest hypocrites of this shit. Another great example. Facts, actually. Facts. Keno Casino are genuinely just beneath contempt with the way they act about this. Cry about the quartering, but, oh, Ethan's so epic. Lex Juthor, go home.
Lex Juthor.
I remember watching Keno. I was a day one. Keno Casino guy, okay? I remember PPP calling on them fucking, what was it? I remember it was Killstream or whatever, but hassling them all over fucking, what was it, New Project 2 or some shit? I remember PPP going hard on them for that. I remember PPP's, who's the fucking bear guy who lives out in the cabin? Who's the fucking bear guy who lives in the cabin? Who's that fucking dude? Owen Benjamin. I watched his Owen Benjamin video back in the day. I watched the start of Keno Casino, where they were going after people like Fuentes for breaking principles, essentially, for hanging out with, what's the fucking pedo's name? Ali Alexander, and for trying to cover up like the weird grooming stuff that was going on there. And now it's just it is literally just vapid farming. And I know they believe more than that. Maybe Andy Warski is literally too dumb to have a principle. Maybe that's the case. But I know PPP must. I know they must deep down. So it really is like a broad spectrum thing. It's not about one end or the other, or even pro-Israel or anti-Israel. To be honest, even if you're pro-Israel, you should recognize how the principles are being broken in favor and say, well, that's not winning, is it? If you win by betraying your principles, you haven't truly won. You would hope they would think that, but I don't expect that. I don't expect that in any way. I don't expect some, drone fucking third worlder shilling Israel online to clock out how bad all this shit is, obviously. PPP said the Noah lawsuit is too far, but it's not enough to make a comment like, oh, I think that's too far. The only way rich fucking losers like Ethan stop is when the cost of success is greater than any benefit they could have hoped to achieve from it. That is the only time they ever learn. Dude, Leafy made endless violent insinuations on the YouTube platform. He talked about showing up to protests with a gun. He talked about shooting people.
Diorio isn't even pro Ethan's lawsuit against Noah. I know I'm not. I know, I don't know if Destiny's for it or not. I'm going to assume Pisco's not for it. Where did Diorio talk about the Noah lawsuit? Destiny's pro copyright lawsuit, but anti-defamation one. Okay, interesting. What's he talking about? How is his way of life under attack because of the Discord leak? That seems like normal stuff, isn't it? Well, I don't know if Destiny's already doxed Kuihman, but I think he would if he could. And I think I'm still yet to see why he wants to do that, or what his particular rationale is. Is Kuihman even a pro-Pali creator? Not by what you would consider to be the default pro-Pali creator, no. He doesn't really speak their language, exactly. Is there a valid reason? I mean, you can dream of one. Yeah, they can exist.
He got banned from YouTube for it. And everyone rallied behind him because pretty sure it was Ethan Klein, got him took down. And everyone still rallied behind him, even though he was making explicit threats, claimed to be jokes, but explicit threats on his platform. People rallied behind him. It's just crazy. So hopefully you know, that's resonated with someone a little bit. Someone has understood what I'm conveying to them.
He says a losing case, what, the defamation one? I mean, it looks like that to me as well. But again, I don't know American defamation law in the slightest. I just know that they have a high standard, and that just does not look like a lawsuit that would meet a high standard. But who knows? Even if it did, I don't know if I'd want a lawsuit like that to be successful. There'd have to be a very good. There'd have to be like an argument that I just haven't heard yet. It's because Kuihman and JSOC have been telling people to spam report Destiny channel and get them demonetized. Have they? Not aware of that. I thought he was already demonetized. Were they saying that beforehand or different channels? Fuck knows, man. I'm gonna Google something. Random. I'm gonna Google a list of random fetishes and just pick one at random, okay? What the fuck is okay? I'll tell you why in a second. No, not autogynephilia. That's too controversial. What's a really weird fucking... Oh, coolrophilia, the kink for clowns. Okay. The question I have about this ethic around like doxing or like putting out someone's real name or like a picture of them or some shit if they're hiding behind an avatar. So I know for a fact that let's say I was a coolrophile, okay? I apparently have a fetish for clowns, okay? And let's say someone who I was messaging, let's say someone who I was messaging, I was talking, was like indulging my fucking coolrophilia, my thing. And I was, I was leaving it all in like messages, and there might have been a fucking picture exchange of a clown outfit or like a mime. And let's say that these DMs all got leaked, right? Because because my clown partner, my mime, was upset that I was a bad communicator or some shit, right? And I'm like, I know for a fact that if those DMs got published by someone against my will, I know that like people like Kuihman himself would be coming out of their fucking eyeballs with glee, just because it's a laugh, right? It would just make them be funny to them. Even if they thought that the person who leaked it was being a cunt, right? Even if they disagree with the person who leaked it, they'd probably still go through the logs for the content, right? I know this because they've done it before. And again, I didn't really like think that much of it, but that is private information that is being disseminated against someone's will. And whether you do it for the purpose of humiliation or harassment or not, like that is, and it's obviously going to happen. It's obviously, so why is that okay in these communities? But fucking saying what someone's name is not. That don't fuck is weird. Weird. I will not release the clown files. Okay. And I don't think it's because the real name can entail like swatting and all that shit. Because I'm like, at the end of the day, bro, most people are comfortable putting their names out. Like, or enough people are comfortable putting their names out as political creators and all those kinds of people. But like, I don't know. Like, to me, the standard, the fucking categorization of what's okay and what isn't is just doesn't make that much sense to me. Seems a bit goofy. Pennywise is sweating right now. I know you fucking better. Depends on where you are in your career. Well, when I brought this up, someone was saying it's because like Owen Jones, right? Like Owen Jones has been attacked, like I think physically attacked, I think once or twice in the last 10, 15 years by someone calling him a fucking, by some fascists, right? I think it was on his birthday actually. I know, and Owen Jones knows that like loads of like fascists, like there's a community of fascists in the UK that knows everything about him. They know where he lives and everything. And even he has been like, for the sheer scale of his profile in the country, got attacked like once or twice. I think the time he was attacked that I know about wasn't even at his house. It was when he was out, when they saw him. But the fact is that when people talk about getting your name put out online, and this is not an endorsement, okay? This is just me talking about the comparison between the two things. To me, it's like a really scary thing when it happens and your heart rate goes up for a bit. But then within a couple of days, maybe even after the first day, it's actually not that. It's actually just not as bad as people think it's going to be. That's kind of how I'd say doxing is, like what the effect it has on you is. Because the first person who ever doxed me was fucking Bad Empanada, okay? Like, and he's got a very mental community. It just wasn't as like intense as I thought it was going to be. I thought I was going to have to deal with like fucking family members getting DM'd or addresses going out and like people showing up at my door. Like I thought all these things were going to happen, but no, it didn't. Yeah. As far as like that compared to if you have like an embarrassing kink or like just like something in your private life or like your romantic life gets leaked. Honestly, like having your name put out is preferable. And I'm not the only person who thinks that. Like by far, like, anyone who's experienced both would agree with that. But I don't know. The standard people draw is just very bizarre. Or like it's not even bizarre. It's actually, no, I wouldn't say it's bizarre because it's just kind of default. But I just don't think it's as well thought out as people make it out to be. It's like a truism that people just don't think about that much. And then there's the whole question about A-logging, right? Like, because I think the phrase A-logging, A-logging, would you support mandatory real names? No. I think it's like the whatever the Taylor, we'll call it the Taylor test, the Lorenz test. There's obviously a level of public influence that you have, or the way you use your influence that probably should entail you attaching your real name to it. I just don't know where that line is. Obviously, libs of TikTok had crossed it. I think someone who is going to devote their time online to incessantly calling someone out, like accusing people of crimes, is probably a thing. If they're malicious, like if they're obviously malicious, like the pedophile thing with Dan. But yeah, I don't. When it comes to A-logging, because A-logging is obviously, it can be very intrusive. It can be much more intrusive than someone just putting your name out there. But I do wonder like where the line would be for that to be like that it warrants you getting like doxed in retaliation. I don't know. And even then, it's not like the doxing is like an ethical dox. It's just like we've both agreed to go into the mud pit right now, because that's part of the internet as well, right? Part of the internet as well is there are mud pits in the internet, and some people jump in those mud pits, and not everyone agrees on where the mud pit is and where the fucking gentleman's code is, right? Like whether you're fighting gentleman's rules or you're in the mud pit. But I would consider, if you're A-logging someone to a particular point, I think you are kind of telling them that you're okay to be in the mud pit, which means that if they dox you in retaliation, then that wouldn't be like unexpected or immoral of them. It would just be like a neutral act because you're both in the fucking cage, like the cage match. But we'll leave that one to the internet philosophers. Subscribe, you fucking assholes. I mean, sorry.